What is up, everybody? Welcome to day one of the RSL. I'm Tasteless. Joined with me is State, and this has been in the works for a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Very excited to be down here. We've been building out this set. We've been trying to make something cool that would also be sustainable in the state that StarCraft II is at right now. And so you probably haven't seen me other than at the GSL for a little bit. We've been busy down here trying to get this all sorted out. The lights, the camera, the stage. So we can finally have something to carry the torch on here for StarCraft II in the future.
Yeah, the team's done a really good job with the set. I was so surprised and impressed coming down to the studio today. It's great to be here. You know, StarCraft II, we're kind of in a new era where tournaments like the GSL, like the RSL, are crowdfunded. It's the community that is driving the support for these tournaments. And I could not be more excited to get started with RSL today.
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been awesome. By the way, guys, we're proud to be sponsored by Archon Studio, the tabletop miniature game for StarCraft. Check this out. It's going to be available in pre-order late into this year, but it's a very exciting product. It looks awesome. I'm surprised this idea hasn't put out earlier. We really appreciate them supporting us here for Season 1.
Yeah, those miniature games are really cool. I've actually never played a tabletop miniature, but I think this one's probably going to be my first. It seems awesome.
Yeah, and of course, guys, we're in kind of a new era of StarCraft II, where it is really up to the community to decide how much support and what kind of support the competitive scene is going to have. So we hope you consider signing up for a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Revive SC2. We've got various tiers. Whatever you can afford, it is appreciated. With each tier, we want to give you a little bang for your buck. So the more you give, the more we'll try to give back to you. And look, I mean, this money goes to the prize pool. It goes to supporting the staff here. It goes to getting the set built. And, we want to make this tournament one where, however much we're funded, we can try to give back in the correct way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a long road for StarCraft II, and now here with RSL, it is really fun. Already locked in for 3 seasons this year?
3 seasons already.
The future is bright.
The community support has been incredible. And the thing with RTS, and I say this all the time, but it's true, it's that a good old RTS, it ages like a fine wine, which is always excellent. The more we learn about it, the more we unpack with it, the better it actually gets.
Yeah. I mean, the gameplay from year to year, it just keeps getting better. I actually, thinking back on it, I was watching some of these old VODs, like old GSL VODs on a nostalgia trip, like Wings of Liberty days.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy looking at the difference in skill from then. I mean, every year the games keep getting better, the maps keep getting better.
Together back in the day. The way people are playing now, it's so much sicker. So take a look at our schedule here. Now, this was kind of jammed together because, as I'm sure many of you know, if you've been following SC2 for a while, we had like 10 months off where there was basically no clear indication of what the future was going to be. In the last 2 months, we've had to, not just for us here at the RSL, but at GSL, everywhere else in the world, we've had to get all the StarCraft II kind of smushed together before EWC. So the dates that you see here are the dates where we were actually free to have the tournament. I think down the road, we will probably have this, like for Season 2 after EWC, probably a little bit more spread out. Again, It will depend on scheduling. But if you're joining us here today, try coming back for the next 3 days in a row after today. We're going to have about a few days off.
I think about a week off. I believe Home Story Cup is actually happening between week 1 and week 2 of the RSL. And yeah, I mean, once EWC is done, there's going to be a lot more breathing room. So for Season 2, Season 3, going to be a much more preparation-based tournament format here. As we look at the groups, the initial round of 16 in the RSL today, all Terrans, Cure, Percival, ByuN, and Spirit. Kind of an insane group draw, if you ask me.
Yeah, if you ever thought there was a chance of us match fixing and trying to make it interesting, clearly not the case here. We have full Terrans for Group A. We've got 3 Protosses for Group B, 3 Zergs for Group C. And so it's been a pretty lopsided lineup. But I'm excited to get into this. I'm excited to do some deep dives into the matchup and see how this is going to come out, who's going to be moving forward here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun group to watch, too. I'm really excited to see especially how Percival is going to do.
Yeah.
For those who maybe haven't been following, all of these new RTS games that are popping up, Percival was one of these guys who, when Stormgate, the beta, came out, he was grinding that so hard. I believe he might have even been rank 1 at some point. Battle Aces, when that entered open beta, or closed beta for the first time, he was also doing very well in that, and now he's shifting his attention back at StarCraft II. This is a guy who was always on the cusp of making a tournament like the GSL, but never actually crossed that line. And so the fact that he was actually able to make it in here for the RSL, I'm really excited to see how he's going to line up against guys like Cure, like Spirit, like ByuN.
Yeah, TVT, by the way, it's become a pretty fast matchup. Historically, it was a lot slower, more of a slog, more of a kind of cut the map down the middle, and then each side's kind of expanding out in different directions. Now it's a lot more explosive. It's a lot more about getting all the different combinations of possible units early on and trying to get in there and harass. We have a lot of quick kill moves here. Both armies kind of glass cannon-y in nature. So if the damage is pretty high and you take that hit hard early on, you can be killed off. So we'll see. Could be a long day, could be a short day.
Yeah, especially given the revitalization of mech and TVT too.
Yeah.
We've watched the needle just kind of slowly teeter more and more towards mech over the past couple of, I even almost want to say years, because it's always been the supreme late game composition in TVT. But lately, I don't know if it's Gumiho, I don't know if it's the Cyclone, I don't know what it is, but people have locked in on mech. Even playing Terran on the ladder, a lot of these games, like in Master League and Grandmaster League, people are going mech. It's just the way that you play TVT right now. And so the compositions, you have the potential for these very long games where people are fully fleshing out the tech tree. They're getting battle cruisers. They're on 5 or 6 bases. You'll see Gumiho in mech versus mech go up to like 5 bases by 10 minutes almost. Something crazy like that. But then you also do have the potential for just outright decapitations, like 3 bases. You got your tanks, you got your Vikings, your Ravens. You full send it, as it looks like we're getting ready.
Contrast to these two rooms here.
Light and dark.
You're with the grocery store lighting, and Percival in the dark right now. So this is going to be a best of 3, guys. This is going to be the similar format to the GSL for this phase of the tournament. And I'm looking forward to doing this, man. We've already seen a decent amount of Cure here in the GSL. He looked extremely strong.
Yeah, runner-up in Season 1.
Right. I mean, this is a guy who basically, if Maro didn't exist, he would kind of be at the forefront of Terran for most of Korea. So, definitely a real threat. Percival, one of the guys that kind of joined us in the Korean scene a little bit later here. Definitely strong, but as you were saying, stated earlier, he was also spending a decent amount of time playing some of these newer RTS games. So we'll see what kind of condition he's in. Obviously, he's going to have to qualify for this tournament. The question is going to be, how exactly is he going to perform going forward here?
Yeah, as someone who played against Percival a lot in Battle Aces and in Stormgate, one thing that impresses me the most about this guy is that his micro is really, really good. It doesn't matter what the game engine is. It doesn't matter what the game is. He is very good at controlling RTS units and getting the most value out of it. And it's kind of been a surprise to me after matching against him in these other games why we haven't seen him find more success in StarCraft II. Maybe it just hasn't been his focus for a while. But yeah, him lining up against Cure here in the debut, the pilot episode of RSL is going to be really fun.
Yes. Again, it's so cool to be down here doing this, guys. We really appreciate you joining us. I wanted to have some kind of a seasonal tournament, where we can kind of have the same experience of the old Star Leagues. The fact that we're out in these long seasons. It's not just, the kind of marathon that a lot of these other tournaments are. And when we were talking about putting the RSL together, one of the things we were thinking about is, okay, like we have space in Korea. Do we want it to be just people in Korea? Do we want to put them together in a booth? Or do we want to try something that's more international? That would mean the players would be online. And, I thought, okay, well, StarCraft started out really being a Korea-dominant game. But the fact that there's so many good international players, why would we not try something where the players are online? And, so that's why we have the tournament format the way we have it. Anyways, in this game, down here in the bottom left is Cure, in the top right is Percival.
Yeah, let's get started, man. RSL Season 1. Percival, the red Terran in the top right. Cure, the blue Terran in the bottom left. And we're here on Takamak. I could not be more excited to get this thing started off.
So, you know, here we already saw he's got some really explosive TVT in general. Percival, I've got more questions about than I do answers. I'm not exactly sure how he's going to be playing here today. Obviously, he's been a really strong player. We know when he really is dialed in and focused in, he can absolutely hang with the very best of the best. But I would say Cure probably going to be the favorite going into this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, runner-up GSL Season 1. Pretty good performance in GSL Season 2 as well. This is a guy who, you know, if we lived in a world where Maru didn't exist, we would be wondering if he is the GOAT of Terran at this point. You know, he has been living in the shadow of Maru for such a long time. It felt like for years in the GSL. The only one that could stop Cure from getting another Codes championship, winning a season, would be Maru. You would meet him in the quarterfinals, you'd meet him in the semifinals. That would be the issue, but, you know, here in the RSL, you can kind of put those muscles of TVT to work here for Cure, as he's trying to throw down this whole command center. Cure with a little bit of a body block right there, able to force Percival to throw this CC down a little bit off center. That's not going to be too painful here for our Red Terran.
Yeah, that's annoying. He does still stick with actually making sure the command center is still going to be planted down there. A little bit annoying here. Cure back at home. He's proceeding to tack up. He's got his second gas here. So this game right now going in pretty different directions. We've got one player prioritizing expanding, the other one prioritizing tacking with an expansion just after that. A lot of times this can result with the player who's tacked a little bit faster to do some kind of drop or some kind of aggro push. And this is pretty common in TVT nowadays. There's a lot of technical takedowns because there's so many different units you can get in the matchup TVT. You know, it's pretty different from some of the other matchups like Zerg, right, where you get like, okay, a Roach Warren, well, that means roaches, or, you know, a Baneling Nest, obviously that's going to be Banelings. With Terran, once they get the factory, the barracks, and the starport down, depending on the add-ons, there's so many choices.
Yeah, early game TVT is just so dangerous, too, as Cure's coming in. That SCV barely going to survive, but this one here, building the command center, it is going to finish. But one SCV already going down here. Cure immediately getting some value after this Reaper opening. He is going for that starport as well. TechLive, I believe, going down on that factory, so see exactly what the play is here from Cure. For now, just testing the waters here with these Reapers. He is actually going to blink all the way up. Oh, man, he's in the main base. The Hellion actually getting some good shots off, so he's able to go 1-for-1 with a Reaper trade there.
Cyclone coming out right now for Cure, getting the add-on here for the starport. And, yeah, this is starting to heat up a little bit over here.
Yeah, Cyclone now coming in here for Cure. I will say, though, Percival, so far he's lost, what, 1 or 2 SCVs, just a couple of units going down. He's been able to navigate this early game pretty well. The 2 Reapers and the Hellions didn't get very much done in the early on stages here for Cure, but the main thing that you're usually gunning for with a build like the one that Cure is doing right now with the super fast tech up and the slight later expansion is that you're going to be a tempo ahead in terms of your factory units, your starport units, and usually that is what gives you the potential to go for some kind of killing blow, whether that be either trying to break your opponent as they take a third base, or even just setting up a contain when your opponent is locked onto 2 bases. I mean, think about those Ravens. Every single Raven being, what, 30, 40 seconds faster than your opponent's means you're going to have that much more energy available for the disables, for the turrets, and so even though Cure didn't get exactly the start that he was probably hoping for here, although he is throwing down 3rd command center, his army much better in terms of positioning. It's going to be a little bit of a faster tempo here in terms of tech.
So with this 3rd base here from Cure, I mean, you know, when you get a couple of Ravens, that's really where you can kind of force your way into almost any kind of position here. It is, I think maybe not the safest 3rd base in the world, but that will also depend on what exactly was going to be thrown his way. Is he going to try to come in here and attack?
Yeah, it's hard to say. For now, no 3rd command center yet for Percival, so we do have a 2nd starport actually coming in for Percival. Is that right? Raven already out. 2nd starport nearly done. Well, checking the production tab. This is kind of interesting opening here from the Red Terran.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically sitting on 2 bases for a little bit here. Back in Cure's base, he's going to go ahead and get the 3rd racks up here. Going to swap the racks onto the reactor, making another reactor here for the starport. Probably going to start pumping medevacs after that. There are Liberators. The 2 Ravens are ready. The tanks, the Marines. This is a medevacless army coming out here for Percival. And, I mean, look, let's see if this can actually punish Cure here.
I feel like it really might be able to. The second starport being done, Percival is really going to have a lot of air superiority. Those Ravens that Cure has, he might be able to get the initial salvos off with the disables, but after that, it's going to be the vision going in advantage here of Percival. He's got Liberators coming in, Vikings getting turned out 2 at a time, and now he's already knocking on the doorstep here of Cure, so in a bit of a role reversal, it's Percival with a faster command center, the faster expansion, who is now levying pressure here at the 3rd base of Cure. Liberator coming in. Cure, he needs to step back with these 2 siege tanks, already taking a couple of shots from that Liberator.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this is probably going to be forced to lift is going to be huge. The Cyclone's going to drive back the Liberator. He decides to just step back slightly, then move in here. These tanks in range. He barely gets one away. Thought maybe the Hellion was going to one-shot that down. So he forced a liftoff here. We were talking about the fact that this could be kind of a risky 3rd base here from Cure. And it was, and the punish is just going on even more.
The way that Percival is edging forward with these Ravens, with the Vikings, with the turrets getting thrown down here at the natural expansion of Cure, these trades are so effective. That second starport, I was kind of scratching my head about what the use of that is going to be. Well, look at how much value it is turned into right now for our Red Terran. For Cure, he's down a couple of siege tanks. Percival is taking a 3rd base, but can he fully breach the base of Cure? Cure again, Liberator Zone is set up. He doesn't have air superiority. Okay, he's stemming forward. Marines charging in. The Vikings land. They're able to take down those Vikings. It seems like Cure is barely going to have enough.
I think that Percival might have bit off more than he could chew here. You know, it was great to actually drive back the command center, force a lift, get some kills here on the tanks. But then when he tried to push it even further, I'm just not sure if that's going to work out. So he's going to be driven back. He's going to stay. I don't know. I mean, the overextension is kind of painful, right? Because the 3rd command center just lands over here. And, you know, it's back to business as usual here for Cure. And Percival, if he could try to move in here, and again, you know, he's got hanging tanks. This is going to get punished. There's a tank somehow back here in the top right. I actually think there's a chance Percival is just going to lose this game. I mean, the Stim Marines, the tanks are going to come out. Landed Vikings aren't going to do anything.
Yeah, man, these Marines stimming forward with 1-1, now able to take down those Vikings. That is GG. Cure able to defend against that push and win game 1 of this series. I got to say, though, I'm really impressed with that build coming out from Percival. It seemed like Cure was almost on the brink of dropping there. He had to do this very careful game of inching back with the siege tanks, biding his time, waiting for those upgrades to come in before he was able to finally repel Percival from that position. That was a very bold build here, going up against one of the best Terran players in the world for someone who in some ways kind of feels like a rookie on this stage.
Feel like you got to try to get the kills, drive the command center back, and then you don't want to do like a win more move. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've already basically taken the lead. I guess there was no 3rd command center for Percival. There wasn't really a big investment in the later game. I don't know about throwing the auto turrets down in that moment. I guess it's very tempting because there are, you know, a couple of stray tanks, but then you don't have the opportunity to disable or really do much more. You're kind of doing a mana dump and just throwing everything that you've got over there. And when you try to advance after that, you're kind of feeding into Cure. And then, I mean, the follow-up, you know, I call this backwards pushing when you see someone losing a push. And then as we pan the screen out, you just see like one siege tank here. And then there's like another siege tank back, and it's sieged up and it's sort of scattered. It's like they're trying to hold that position no matter what. Anyways, game 1 goes to Cure. Pretty fast, snappy game. Not too shocking. Percival coming in with some pretty interesting ideas. Cure with more of just a macro play. Like, I'm going to develop. I'm going to tick all my boxes. I'm going to get everything that I need so that I'm in good shape later on. And I'm not as worried as what exactly is coming my way. As long as I've ticked all my boxes, I should be able to handle it. And that's kind of what happened there in that game versus Percival.
Yeah, but I do really like the way that Percival went on the approach. Sometimes you see these guys who don't have quite as much success on these big stages, but you know they have the potential, and then they finally go up against somebody like Cure on a big match like this, and they might play a little bit too timid. They might stay back at their base. They try to macro up. Percival said, nah, I'm going to skip stim. I'm going to get a faster second starport. I'm going to try and kill one of the best Terran players in the world. I liked it.
So in this game, it's going to be the same spawns here. It's Cure once again in the bottom left, Percival here in the top right. In the last game, Percival electing for kind of a technical push, one where like he's got the Ravens, he's got the tanks, but the Marines, these aren't stim Marines. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with. It's sort of just like cannon fodder to try to get into that position, but not able to do much more than that. I don't know if that's due to maybe like a lack of confidence against Kira in a macro game, or maybe Percival just really believing that with what he had there, that is the perfect way to try to take somebody down. Versus of the caliber of Cure.
Well, you could clearly see what it's capable of. Cure was kind of on the ropes for a little bit there, just inching backwards towards his natural expansion. If there were a couple of missteps from Cure on the defense, if the Liberators got 1 or 2 more shots off and some siege tanks started falling, I truly think there's a kill potential there for Percival, even with the late 3rd command center, even with no stim pack. There were just so many high-tech units coming out from the Red Terran, and again, kind of the same story here, but a little bit in reverse. Percival's the one going for double gas, so he's going to be probably a tempo ahead on the tech, and it's Cure who's going for the 1 gas expansion.
Okay, SCVs spot each other here in the middle of the map. Percival's SCV going to loop through here and see there is no command center. Try to run up here. Oh, no, he's not going to run up into the main, excuse me. Just going to block here since you can't throw the CC down now. So Cure's command center is going to be about 100 minerals late, if that makes sense. He got up to 500 back there.
Yeah, factory now going down here for Percival. I wonder if we are going to have another big technical push coming out from him, or if that was just a play that he goes for there in map number 1 and then defaults back to something a little bit more standard in terms of macro development. Have to wait and see. This Reaper is going to find... Oh, it's a funny little map glitch right there. For a moment, I thought that Reaper basically disappeared, but no, instead Percival is going to be chasing Kira all the way back to his main base.
So for the time being, we have the later command center started here from Percival. In this case, Percival actually the one who's going to tech up a little bit more quickly. And we basically need to see, okay, what is the array of tech that each side is going to go for. I was saying in the previous game, it's pretty common if you go for that fast factory to starport to try to do some kind of a drop, medevac or something like that, but we didn't have it in that last game.
Yeah, it wasn't really very drop-oriented from either player. It was much more of a kind of go-for-a-kill move. Is actually Kira able to snipe one of these Reapers coming in. I don't even think the SCV went down in the natural expansion, did it? Oh, it did. Okay, so that's a worthwhile dive here for Percival. He's going to lock and load again here with the Hellion. Not able to get the follow-up kill here on the second SCV. Kira is going to pull back into the main base. And we'll see the choices are coming out from Percival right now. Siege Tank already getting queued up. I wonder if we will see the same double starport play. As it is right now, Kira is going to be able to enter the space to the slightly delayed command center here, as those SCVs get a holster down there in the garrison in the command center. Not too many units here, as the reactor Marines are popping out. Reapers actually trying to get some damage done. SCVs are going to go for the mass repair right there, so no workers going down, but a very good scout here for Kira. He's basically getting complete information. He's identifying the command center timing. He's seeing what tech labs, what add-ons we have on the production buildings here for the Red Terran opponent. And he's going to be heading into the mid-game with a very clear idea of what Percival's going for.
Okay, that third gas about to finish up. Percival moving out on the map right now. Going to see if he can't get anything done with this initial drop. He does have a Reaper and a Hellion. He may be trying to draw his opponent's screen away here and then trying to drop in somewhere else. In fact, he's going to merge up with this, so it's a tank and 4 Marines coming up here. The Cyclone targets, and he needs to pull a little bit further back. He gets out of the targeting range. Stutter step micro forward here, excuse me. Is enough that Percival loses everything.
Man, no boost there on that medevac. Losing the siege tank in that dropship is huge here, and Kira immediately throws down the third command center. He is feeling so confident after that little win. Let's keep in mind, it was Percival who went for the double gas opening with the delayed expansion. He did that trying to set up a push or a drop like the one that he just attempted to execute, and Kira just stopped it basically no problem at all. So now it's Cure who's going to be getting aggressive. Raven and Cyclone already here, the natural expansion. He's going to be able to pick off the SCV building this command center. He knows the third base timing is pretty late. He wants to slow it down even more.
Yeah, he's going to be pushed back a little bit here. Seeing that third CC, he knows exactly what kind of game Percival's in. And Cure might want to try to sink his teeth into this position here. He doesn't want to overextend like he did just back there. But, you know, when you see a third command center, you know that's going to be ideally, from Percival's perspective, landed at one of these bases a little bit quicker here. Now, the third CC for Kira is going to finish, and that's going to go uncontested, but I think he could still shark around the outside of the map and basically try to keep Percival on 2 bases. Keep Percival oppressed, and then just try to get further and further ahead.
I believe we do have interference matrix research here for Kira, so there is the possibility of him just getting enough energy to disable these 2 frontline tanks and then get in siege range of that command center before it finishes, but it is a pretty fine line to walk, as instead he's going to be pivoting over here, just basically setting up a soft contain on his opponent. And the fact that Kira already has, actually hold that thought, Percival is moving across the map right now, trying to get out of this natural expansion, and Kira, he's just not going to contest it. He knows that his third base is faster, he knows that he has Vikings being reactored out, so soon he will have air superiority. He's going to play this a little bit slower and safer.
Yeah, so he decides to step back, and I think this is good. If you're not 100% sure that you can commit into this, you're just going to be overextending. So he backs up. There's a bit of a Vikings arms race here. Each side is getting 2 Vikings at a time. But, you know, the Vikings here for Percival are going to merge into the army a little bit more quickly since they're closer to that base. But Kira's backed off, I think, correctly. Now, the fact that Percival had to push out and even feel the pressure at all, his third command center hasn't landed yet. So, you know, he could have taken it maybe 30 seconds ago. That hasn't happened. And, you know, I think Kira scanned there a second ago and sees, okay, he's not there yet. You could even try to loop around the center right and then up through the top and maybe hit where the tanks aren't. And that's exactly what Kira is going to do. Yeah,
Percival does not know that Kira is posturing right down to the southeast of that expansion. And as soon as that third command center lands, Kira immediately making it a target. Now he is seeing these siege tanks maneuvering over here. Percival trying to pivot really quickly with tanks of his own. The Sable's coming in on those front 2 tanks for both sides, but the Viking War right now going in advantage of Kira. More Vikings reinforcing for Percival. Micro pretty good here for Kira, though. He's stutter stepping forward. He's taking down all these Vikings.
He's got to be careful. He can't see near those Marines. The last Marine's gone. He's going to land the Viking down, exploding over its head. And, I mean, the tanks are getting very close. Remember, the tanks can shoot further than they can see. So the Vikings spotting here, it's going to force Percival to do a scan.
No.
And I don't know that he quite has enough. It's one more shot away. The last tank is shot down.
Man, I thought for sure that siege tank of Percival was going to get taken down. It was the one anchoring the position right there, but luckily he is able to keep it alive with some fast repairs and immediately trying to anticipate the move coming in from Kira. Kira, he's sieging up some of the tanks right now, landing the Vikings as well. He wants to break Percival right now. Stim Marines moving forward. The siege tanks do go down. He can unsiege and push even deeper into the heart of the beast.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty dire. It's Vikings, you know, they're landing to not get shot by other Vikings. They're picking back up to not get shot by tanks. The command center is in range of at least 2 of these tanks. So he's going to be forced to repair this. We're almost to the tipping point. Kira taking a 4th base at the same time pressuring the 3rd. There is a tank at the bottom right below this command center, which is going to make it harder for any more tanks to put pressure on here. But this is already quite a bit. He's going to inch in. Oh, never mind. He actually can fit in. All right, that tank can hit it. It doesn't matter. The Marines are going to dive in and clear out the bottom right. This is going to force a CC up. The SCVs will be repairing. And, I mean, this is pretty brutal right now. I got to say, we were talking about TBT. It's become a shorter matchup. This is certainly an example of that. Boosted medevac here. Looks like he debated trying to fast relocate the tanks up here. This could actually be a little bit of an overextension.
No, I like this for Kira. Percival, he's trying to just break this out because he knows he needs to secure this base right now, but he isn't able to break down those siege tanks. Kira with another scan, just making sure that he has vision, that Percival isn't inching forward now that he has air superiority here with the Vikings. And already this is a bad situation for the Red Terran because he's sitting on 63 SCVs to the 80 plus of Kira, who's now on 4 bases. But the fact that it's been minutes since he's mined from this 3rd base adds insult to injury. And you can see Kira, he's kind of getting a little bit trigger happy. He wants to charge in and take this game right now. You can see him really powering up. The moment that 4th base kicks in, all these additional barracks coming in, the upgrades. He's already started 2-2 and vehicle weapons. Percival, he's sitting on 1-1. That just now finished for the Red Terran. It's a 50 supply lead here for Kira.
Okay, he's going to be able to block him off up here. Kira going up to another base.
Wow.
So, you know, there's the fact that Percival's surviving attacks, and that's great, right? But then there's the reality of Kira is just like he's taking everything on the map. I mean, he's basically lapping Percival in an economy race here. And I worry that, even as Percival survives the previous attacks here from Pure, he's going to be so behind he can't do anything with the army he's eventually going to be able to get.
Yeah, Cure just firing on all cylinders right now. I mean, his entire quadrant of the map has almost been taken. We're going up to 5 bases soon. He's getting closer and closer to maxed. 2-2 is going to finish here for infantry. 2-2 just now starting for Percival.
So, for now, he does another catch over here in the middle of the map. Percival really not able to step outside of his base for the time being. I mean, counterattacks work as well in TVT in a situation like this where you're this far behind. If you try to step out and hit any of these bases, Cure would be more than happy to give up a command center to take out the third base or natural expansion here. And Cure's maxed out, by the way. So, in a game like this, Cure may decide to just try to come through and crush this position. I certainly couldn't say I blame him. He might even want to try to drop in the main or something like that. Okay, he's going to do a little pickup over here. There are Vikings ready.
Yeah, Percival is really well prepared to deal with a drop in the main base. He knows that Cure's going to try and find some angle to tear him apart, but I don't know. The writing almost feels like it's on the wall. Here is a ticking time bomb. This battering ram is now coming into the junction between the natural expansion and the third base. These Marines, they already have 2-2. They're charging in on both sides. GG is called, and Cure is able to dispatch Percival with a 2-0 win here in the first series of the day. That was a commanding performance from Cure.
Yeah, I had hoped it would be a little bit closer. I mean, it feels like no matter how whatever Percival had going for him, Cure was able to just get ahead in so many other ways. I mean, by the end there, even though the push had not killed Percival, Cure had so much of the map, it didn't even matter. I thought maybe there would be some chance with the drop getting bungled when he picked up, but he was so fast, he immediately unloaded and pulled back. Cure there with a 2-0 lead, takes that.
Yeah, I mean, that was just Cure showcasing why he is one of the best TVT players in the world. The rate at which he was expanding the control of the army. You could tell that he was a little bit antsy with that initial push into the third base of Percival to try and just end the game and go next because he knew the advantage that he had. But in the end, just peeling back, waiting until max with 2-2, I mean, that was just a killer push.
Guys, we're going to go to a short break. Coming up next, more TVTs here for day one of the RSL. They answered correctly. They did said yes. That was the only right answer. Not I think so, or can I, but yes. Welcome back to the RSL, everybody. We just finished our first best of 3. You know when you get like a new boat and then you christen it with a bottle of champagne?
Uh-huh.
That's a relatable thing to talk about. We just christened the tournament with our first best of 3. Chat knows what I'm talking about. They own a lot of boats. And so now we're off. It's going to be not a TVT, by the way. I was wrong about that. I think Spirit's going to be playing Protoss.
Yeah, man. He's pulling a Clem. He's pulling a Maru.
Yeah.
I hope it goes more in the vein of Clem than it went for Maru in GSL.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of excited about this, man. A lot of Terran players these days are mixing up TVT and playing PVT instead. And I kind of get it because TVT is a really hard matchup to play in PVT.
Yeah.
Although it feels balanced from my biased perspective as a Protoss player, it's a lot more straightforward.
Yeah.
there's less ways to die, it feels like. So
yeah, we don't have a rule that you have to stick with like your brand race in RSL. I don't know if we're going to change it down the road, but in this case, Spirit does not want to do a TVT. We were talking about this a lot in the GSL that PVT, it looks really good for Protoss if they can stay alive for long enough. Like you just sort of play the defend game, just play defense the whole time, keep expanding, get your different types of splash damage, and then eventually you're almost too big to fail, at least for what we understand of the matchup. Now, I don't know how good Spirit is at that. I'm always curious when it comes to off races. I've seen players like Scarlet or Raynor where it's crazy what they can do. Maru, it was a bit of a comedy watching him play Protoss in GSL. We're like, this is going to be so cool.
It was a comedy and a tragedy at the
What's
same
it gonna
time.
look like? And it's like, oh, it looks terrible.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I feel like as this is becoming more and more popular, that people are starting to mix up the races. Though I'm wondering when we get to the point where the players have to say blind pick their race, because otherwise we're gonna have this dance where it's like, oh, if you play Terran, I'm gonna play Protoss. If you play Protoss, I'm gonna play Zerg.
And then they have to both play random, and then they both get a matchup they don't know anything about.
and we're casting Gold League games.
Yes, exactly.
But in any case, I am excited for the break in the TVTs. I do enjoy a good old-fashioned deep dive in a one specific matchup in a group. Like sometimes we'll get a group with 2 Terrans and 2 Zergs. We have 5 TVZs over the course of the day. I was kind of looking forward to potentially having 5 TVTs today, but the fact that Spirit's going to mix it up, hey, I'm not one to complain. We got some PVTs in there. That's some nice variety. I just hope he can. I hope he can deliver.
I hope he can hang.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what exactly he's going to go for here. He doesn't have to do that kind of withdrawn defensive style I was talking about. I mean, there's plenty of cheeses and other stuff he could try to go for here. We're going to be hopping into this match in a second here. This is the RSL, a brand new StarCraft tournament we have launched over here in Korea. I've been super excited to get this started. Took us a while to get this set built, get the lights, the cameras, everything. But we're finally here, so thank you so much for joining us here on day one. And I think we're ready to go into this. Okay, so Spirit is going to be here in the bottom left, and in the top right is going to be ByuN.
Yeah, Spirit's PvT. Let's watch. I am excited. You never know what you're gonna get when somebody off race like this. Sometimes you get a Clem, sometimes you get a Maru, and I'm hoping this one's more in the vein of a Maru, or a Clem. I mean. But yeah. In any case, Spirit the Blue Protoss down here in the bottom left. We'll see what opening he decides to go for. Now, you make an interesting point about how it feels like a late game, even the mid game, honestly, when Protoss gets up to like 4 or 5 bases and they start to get too big to fail, that things seemingly spiral out of control in this matchup. There are a couple of different styles you can play, though. Like, Creator is one of these PvT players who is, you watch him play, and it's like, he plays a very high-tech style. He takes his gases very quickly, not just in the main of the natural, but at the extra bases as well. And he tries to assemble an army that, if he controls it perfectly, is basically unbeatable. He has Templars scattered everywhere. He's got Disruptors. He might mix in some Starport units. He's fully fleshing out the tech tree. And it is, on paper, a very strong style, but it's very expensive, and it's also a little bit flimsy. Sometimes you'll get a Terran player that stims in, and if you misstep once with your splash damage, then suddenly everything falls apart. The prevailing style in Korean PvT lately has not been that Creator-esque high-tech PvT play. Instead, it's been something a little bit more in the vein of what Hero is doing PvZ, where we have players going up to 4 gases relatively quickly on 2 bases, and with those 4 gases, you get your Twilight Council, you get your Blink or your Charge opening, you have your first Forge, and usually just 1 form of splash damage. Currently, right now, that is Storm. And then after that, you just stay on 4 gases. You keep taking expansions, but the expansions, they're for minerals, man. You want Zealots. You want a lot of Charge Zealots.
You want it for minerals, pylons, and Nexus. Keep growing.
I wonder what we're going to see here from Spirit.
Okay. But we've got the first Reaper coming out here. It's going to be a Stalker, ready to greet him. The definitive tech here for Protoss isn't quite out just yet. And so he's going to be chased away. Feels like the scout was early enough. I don't feel like he's going to, didn't really get too much intel at all really there. Back at home for the Terran. Command Center is going to be finishing his sacks. The Reaper actually does manage to kill the probe. Not bad, getting some value as the value of the Reaper plummets. It drops off dramatically the further the game goes.
It's a penny stock.
Yeah. There is no unit that is like, you can do a lot with it early on, but it just becomes utterly useless later on in the game.
Yeah, the Reaper is kind of, Adepts are a little bit like that in PvT.
Sure,
and PvZ to some extent, but yeah, the Reaper is definitely in its own unique
I think that
category.
What happened with the Reaper was it was so good when it came out that they just had to keep nerfing it and making it weaker and worse until eventually it was just sort of this like pretty strong thing early on and to completely obsolete later.
I remember when they had the initial reveal trailer or launch trailer, whatever you want to call it, for StarCraft II, and they showed like the Colossus walking up and down cliffs and the Reaper jumping up and down, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be crazy.
Yeah. I remember hearing Koreans gasp when they showed it in Korea. The Colossus went up the cliff and they went, oh, like, in the audience.
I made that same sound too as a future Protoss player.
We all made that around the world. The world made a collective, oh. So we've got Blink coming here. No third Nexus.
No, it's actually a really safe opening coming in from Spirit. We have a 2-gate Robo Blink opening. If I haven't missed any production coming in, as the Hallucination Scout is going to confirm that we have a tech lab there on the Starport there for ByuN. There isn't actually anything researching there at that Starport, but just for Spirit to be safe, sometimes when you play an off race like this, you will try to go for knobs relatively quickly, just to kind of preempt something like a Cloak Banshee, but in this case, Spirit just taking a slightly safer, more conservative, more safe third base.
Yeah, with the Raven out, I was going to say there's always the possibility of some kind of a technical push, but when you see the Raven roaming alone, that pretty much means it's going to be an auto turret thrown down there.
Robo-Bay.
Yeah, and he's going to be getting a quick Colossus out here. We didn't see this that much in GSL. It is definitely a way to play. Blink into Colossus.
Yeah,
we had more Blink into Storm, I felt like, in GSL.
Yeah, Storm, given energy recharge on the current patch, just seems to be a little bit better than the Colossus. Not to say that Colossus is a bad opening. It still is certainly viable, but absolutely something that's a little bit more old school than what we're seeing in a lot of these high-level PvT games in Korea. But I feel like, again,
And we're back. Although I think
unmute on OBS.
unmute us on OBS.
Unmute on OBS. Commentator cam. Oh, wait.
No.
Wait. Oh, we are back. Oh, we don't need to be unmuted after all.
The first day you ever try to do something like this, that's always where
oh my goodness,
most of the tech problems are. So our mixer crashed. I don't think it's going to be an issue again going forward. I hope not.
Yeah.
So I guess you guys couldn't hear our audio for that cast. So that was more of a cast just, I gave to
It was a shame because we did a really good job, Tasteless. That was an exciting game.
I thought it felt intimate. Now I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay. We're going to hop into game 2 if the players are ready.
Yeah, I think we can get that queued up.
We saw Spirit try to go for Colossus back there. And, I mean, to no avail. He tried to push in and overrun him, and it just wasn't enough. The drops are doing too much damage there from ByuN. And so ultimately it was a win there for ByuN. But of course, it's a best of 3, so we got to see what's going to happen as we go into game 2.
I would say, though, that Spirit actually played a really good defensive game for a long time there,
Yeah.
Like, ByuN was trying to throw these punches at him, and Spirit, for a long time, it felt like he was just kind of juking and jiving and able to dodge basically every single blow. And when he went for that counterattack over at ByuN space, it was kind of looking dire there for Terran for at least a little bit. He was getting pushed all the way back into the natural expansion. The third base had a lift off. Those Colossus. I didn't get a full glimpse of exactly what happened with the armor shredding missile, but somehow it only connected on the Colossi, and the Zealots were somehow able to avoid that. And things were looking kind of dicey there for ByuN for a moment. And
I think Spirit attacked too far in.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I've been kind of saying this a lot in PvTs lately. It feels like it's almost stronger for the Protoss to just kill whatever Terran has and then run back away.
Yeah, you're a big fan of the Protoss player basically taking 8 bases on their side of the map and then maxing out.
I'm a huge fan of it. I'm a huge fan of this turtley, slow macro play, but I feel like it's good. But yeah, Spirit going for like a little bit of an older style that we've seen before. Robo before the third base with Stalkers and Blink.
Yeah, it makes sense too. I don't know how much Spirit actually plays PvT generally in terms of practice. I feel like this is just something that's starting to catch on right now, even though I'm sure we're going to see more of it in the future, these Terran players off-racing for PvT instead of TvT. And so I figure, the Storm build, it didn't really get quite as popular in PvT until we had the Energy Recharge patch, and who knows how many PvTs he's actually been able to practice since that patch went live. So yeah, going with something a little bit more old school there with Spirit, but I will say he looked very comfortable with it. The Colossus control was pretty exceptional at times, getting some devastating blows there on ByuN's army.
So I'm assuming that we're going to have Spirit go for Protoss again, unless he decides to switch back into Terran here. Beyond the fact that he did go for infantry, the Colossi, like you were saying earlier, was so strong, just like hard to kind of make that work. So it's like you have the counter, at least to the unit composition, but you don't exactly have, I guess, the map awareness, the understanding of where you need to be. once you start to hold off those attacks and what to do with them. And ByuN did a good job with the counterattacking. It looked really strong, kind of able to get in there and punish. One thing with the Colossus is once you've used the recall, you really have almost no mobility.
Yeah, it's very different from Templar play now. Templar always was more of a kind of cover area type of style. You would see players like Parting as a throwback years and years ago when he would play PBT. He had the best Templar control in the world. He would have a Templar basically at every single base. Kind of like, you ever watch a ZVT where the Zerg is just burrowing banelings on every single ramp?
Yeah.
And the Terran has to walk through these minefields that literally span the entire map. Parting played PBT like that with Templar. And a lot of other Protoss players, even today, even though you can't really quite get away with having that many Templar on the map because it's so expensive, they will still have, say, a Stormer in the main base in the natural expansion, at the third, at the fourth. Creator's a player who loves to do this. Now with energy recharge, even if you don't have the Storm already available, you can just warp in a Templar, recharge it, and instantly have 2 Storms. So yeah, Colossus, a lot less mobile. ByuN, one of the better Terran players in terms of pulling Protoss apart with those drops. And guys, our game, it is back. We are loaded up. Spirit, the blue Protoss, spawning here in the top right. ByuN, the red Terran, in the bottom left. Let's get back to it.
All right, we've got a game here where Spirit, we got to see if he can play a little bit stronger here, play a little bit better this time around. It was a little bit rough watching him in that last game. It's been interesting, by the way, to see a lot of players. There's always been complaining about Protoss. I've always found this kind of interesting just because, especially in Korea, we don't have that many Protoss champions. But everybody's like, oh, Protoss is OP. But then we have these players that are now off-racing as Protoss, but it's not working. So we'll see what Spirit can do this time around.
It's divine justice as far as I'm concerned.
That's what I feel.
And ByuN's actually going to go for a proxy barracks here. Look at this. He's already sneaking this SCV. Wait, is this going to be for a bunker? What is your plan here, ByuN? Ah, it's an eBay block. Okay, now this so far is not getting scouted. Ideally is Protoss, if this eBay is going down in your natural expansion, you're spotting it very quickly with your probes, and you're able to pull 3 or 4 probes basically to stop this from getting too much HP. But at this point, the engineering bay, it's already 3/4 of a way done. Spirit isn't going to have to instead send that probe to one of these third base locations and effectively take that as a snap throw. And this is always an awkward move here because ByuN can just cancel that eBay should he desire and immediately throw down some more production buildings, which he does. eBay gets canceled, factory gets thrown down.
It just looks like one of these games where Terran just knows the opening so well. It's like, oh, I'll just do this. And you have to be maybe not the most nuanced player in the world as Protoss, but you definitely have to have at least experience to kind of know how to handle this. And man, I mean, we see Zergs where there's the Nexus, the hatchery, this far out. Not exactly comfortable for Protoss. And then again, Zergs hate it too, but at least they've trained versus it since day one. But I'm curious, especially with a player like ByuN, if there's some kind of a punish that can come in here to take this out.
Yeah, for a long time, that punish was going to be a Siege Tank Marine push, hitting, what should be the third base, but instead the natural expansion because it just moves across the map so quickly. We think about the way that Protoss players typically try to defend against those Marine tank pushes. With Blink Stalkers, with Charge Zealots, it's all about buying time. Buying literally seconds as the Terran players working their way across the map. Well, here on Ultralove, third to third, or in this case, natural to third, it's a pretty low rush distance. Should ByuN decide to go for something like a Siege Tank push, that'll be really hard for Spirit to drop. But instead, ByuN, he's going for the Hellions. And this is another really good way of punishing the Protoss player early because it's difficult to have enough gateway units in exactly the right position when you have your third base or your natural expansion this far forward, right? And that's one of the reasons why we see Spirit in this moment throwing down a shield battery in the main base, in the natural expansion. Him being a Terran player himself, he's like, what would I do in this position? I would probably try and kill some probes, but unfortunately for him, it's a little bit delayed. So these Hellions coming in, I think only one worker going down thus far, but ByuN, he is going to happily trade these Hellions out, getting at least one more kill. Can he get the fourth? No, just going to be 3 probes. So 3 probes for 1 Hellion. Not too bad here for the Terran.
No, not bad at all. Back at home for Terran, he's just going to continue to make some Widow Mines. We've got Stalker Blink being upgraded here for Protoss. The Hellions will come back in, and again, it all goes back to the fact that this is a second base and a third base location, a very exposed angle, especially early on. Protosses tend to rely on these kind of wall-ins to protect you, and you're just so exposed here. So Spirit, even with a battery, oh my god, he's already down to 8 kills here. I don't think he can get a 9th one. Yeah, there's not enough Hellions there to do the damage.
Yeah, but 8 probes going down already is so painful here for Spirit. I mean, watching those Nexuses, he's been chrono boosting probes basically nonstop. So the fact that we've equalized now at 31 to 29 workers is just such a boon here for ByuN. And those Hellions, once they reach numbers like 3 or 4, that shield battery becomes basically trivial. But here, Spirit, he's going to try and get some damage on his own. There is Widow Mines burrowing here in the natural expansion. Additional probes going down. Already 13 probes have fallen. Spirit, he's trying to get some damage done cross-map, but the repair is here. The siege tank is reinforcing. Link only just now finishing, but with such low Stalker numbers, Spirit can't really breach that natural expansion. And these Widow Mines...
Oh my god, unload it!
They're still alive!
Oh god!
It's just
still not
idling.
moving. He's going to be able to recall it.
Okay, he finally goes back into the main base.
He baited the recall. Now he's going to go in the main.
Yeah, man, he was trying to bait that reaction out of everybody. Okay, probes are getting pulled. Widow Mine burrowing in. Luckily, Spirit is able to take that one down. I say, if there's one more big Widow Mine shot, I feel like this game is basically over. As it is right now, Spirit is already dreadfully behind. He only has the Blink Tech. We have Banshees on the field, Siege Tanker on the field. Spirit is now taking his 3rd base, adding in Charge and a Robo Bay, but if ByuN decides to go for a push before Charge is done, before the first Colossus is done, or even before Thermal Lance is done, it's going to be a gargantuan task trying to hold off here as Spirit.
So Spirit's in a really tough spot. He lost a lot of workers, wasn't able to do a whole lot as far as any retaliatory moves. He's gone up to his 3rd base, but it may become very, very clear and obvious, when the Terran push comes out, the kind of position that Spirit's in. Right now, he's actually down by 1 worker despite having the extra base up here. And his army's pretty small. ByuN is winding up for an attack here.
Yeah, no third command center yet here for ByuN, so this might even be an SCV pull attack. We're going to have to wait and see exactly how he decides to go about it, but in any case, ByuN is just continuing to ramp up. Banshee is now coming to the 3rd base. This guy has to be a little bit of a scary moment here for Spirit, who's already lost so many workers. And a shield battery, typically it's very good at keeping your workers alive because it generally outpaces the DPS of the Banshee, but because some of them were already injured from the Hellion run by earlier, that Banshee just able to pop in and get to it probes basically for free. This is looking really dangerous right now, Tasteless.
Yeah, this is looking really bad. I mean, we don't normally see a Protoss take this much abuse here. With the with the battery here, the Banshee can't quite get enough damage to kill it off. But I mean, this is not pretty. Stim is done, and a lot of times when the Stim finishes, that's when the Terran's going to move out. They'll try to get the Stim as late as possible until it's time to push. That time is now. He does pop the medevac. Nicely done. ByuN a little Cavalier having that out in the front. 2 more are going to be spawning. And, I mean, he may take a 3rd behind this, but he is definitely going to push for this no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. And for Spirit right now, Thermal Lance only just now starting. He is trying to get ready to deal with this push. 5 more gateways in production. He's buying time right now with the Stalkers, but the army supplies are just so scary in this moment. It is 65 to 37. ByuN is inching closer and closer to this 3rd base. Thermal Lance isn't done. +1 ground weapons isn't done. These extra gateways are not yet online. Spirit, he's trying to keep the siege tanks out of range from sieging the Nexus, but ByuN sees this army. He's like, you know what? I don't even need the siege tanks. I'm going to stim to win. He pushes forward. The Zealot meat shield is already gone, and even without the assistance of the siege tanks, this 3rd base looks like it is in dire straits.
Yeah, I think he's going to go ahead and just lose this now. The last Colossus is going to fall. GG. ByuN takes game number 2, winning with a very decisive 2-0.
Yeah, and that was a very confident push into the 3rd base. It was almost like an anti-timing. Like, if this was a game where ByuN lost, we would be calling this an anti-timing because I think +1 infantry weapons wasn't done. The siege tanks were barely out of range. Protoss had a couple of upgrades that were already finished. +1 ground weapons had just completed when an attack commenced. But ByuN looks at that army. He's like, wait, is that really all you got? Did I do that much damage? And he just has no hesitation. Instantly pushes in with a bio. Doesn't even wait for the siege tanks. And that's our 2nd series wrap, man. Convincing win there for ByuN.
Yeah, guys, we're going to go to a short little break. When we come back, RSL will continue on. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We're going to go into the winners match now at TVT. Cure versus ByuN. And I'm hoping this is going to be a closer one. We've had some one-sided games so far today.
Yeah, Spirit looks pretty good with Protoss there in that game number 1, but game number 2, ByuN just moving with so much confidence, looked rock solid. And I would say Cure versus ByuN coming into this one, probably the favorites to advance from the group. There are just so many good Terran players in Korea that I feel like basically everybody that competes in the GSL at this point naturally has God tier TVT. And so I'm really excited to see these two duke it out. I feel like the styles are a little bit different here. ByuN usually, especially in TVT, likes to play a much more active marine-based style. You can see him drop everywhere, whereas Cure, I'm thinking back to some of the games that he played, not just in TVT, but also in the other matchups, has really been embracing some of these more timing attack focused styles, very heavily based on factory play, on siege tanks, on getting them in good positions. And I'm just excited to see exactly how those styles are going to clash.
I think Cure is the clear favorite here. ByuN is looking good, but Cure is just, I think, been on another level here. A real threat coming into this tournament. We're going to start this off on the map Persephone. I do hope we get a game 3 here on Ultra Love. I'm also wondering, by the way, is Spirit going to stay with Protoss here today? Because he picked Protoss once, and I don't know how he feels about his TVT versus Percival, but clearly he's not that confident in TVT because there was only one matchup he had to prep for today, and he's deciding to opt into a off-race matchup.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it's possible that his TVT build repertoire isn't quite large enough that he might want to mix up some series or some games with Protoss, but yeah, I feel like for me personally, I'm expecting to see him play Protoss all day today. We will see if he mixes it up, but
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, it seemed, especially that game 1 against ByuN, it looked solid enough that I would not give up on it if I was Spirit, even though game 2 was a little bit more shaky, but that was also kind of a weird match, wasn't it? With the engineering bay block and the natural expansion.
Yeah, it's like you get one trick off early, and it makes the game so hard, so unwinnable that, it's really easy for Terran to basically come in and punish, and that's exactly what we saw back there. So he was able to just wipe out probes after probes after probes. Maybe we have a different kind of game, coming out of him in that next one here. Our game is actually loading up right now. The winner of this has won the group here for RSL Group A. Down here in the bottom left is Cure. Top left is ByuN.
Yeah, going back to Persephone here for map number 1. I'm real excited for this one to get started, man. Anytime you have two extreme heavyweights like ByuN and Cure going head-to-head in a TVT, you just know that games are going to be explosive.
Yeah, I've casted so many of these guys duking it out, so many times. They usually make for some great games, but I generally just feel like Cure has more pieces of the TVT puzzle, so to speak. When ByuN wins, he usually wins like right in the mid-game. Gets in there, pushes, takes a fight maybe a lot of other Terran players wouldn't have taken. Gets the damage off, kills your tanks, maybe snipes your Raven, and then pushes in. And gets it done. But Cure, I feel like, just sort of has a better overall tempo TVT and how he approaches it. By the way, second barracks for ByuN.
Yeah, for both players, actually.
What?
We have mirrored openings here. 2 Rax Reaper versus 2 Rax Reaper. TVT early game, especially against somebody like ByuN, is so dangerous because, the end game potential of, say, a proxy 2 Barracks Reaper play So much damage being done right now. ByuN losing a ton of momentum. Basically every Reaper just fell in the last few moments.
Yeah, that was insane. Now we're going to have the counterattack here from Cure. He's looping back around. He can come up here and take out the SCV that's making the command center. This isn't even walled in.
I mean, this just feels like a little bit too much. How high can your voice get? Tasteless.
Not very high. I went to puberty a long time ago.
Oh, man, the Reapers, they might even be able to take down the Cyclo. That is it. GG. Cure winning game number 1. Kind of a funny game with 2rax Reaper versus 2rax Reaper. It seemed like Cure realized a little bit faster than ByuN exactly what was going on, and then ByuN a little bit overeager there. Maybe he felt like he had to get something done after losing that initial Reaper. He's trying to punish Cure, thinking he's on one barracks, but no, it did not work.
So it was a funny moment because you're both seeing each other's Reaper in the middle of the map, but it doesn't mean that you know that there's a second Rax, right?
Yeah.
In fact, you're kind of, in some sense, if you're being aggressive with that, you're almost thinking, oh my God, that's his one Reaper. If I kill this, I can probably snowball it with my third Reaper and then my fifth Reaper, you know, once you start to have the Reapers come out in pairs, but instead it ended up kind of feeding into him. So the counterattack there is just too much because if you're both going for Reapers and you lose a couple, then everything else that you were going to get after that is late.
Yeah, and Kira just had so much momentum, especially just the movement with those Reapers, catching ByuN's entire Reaper force in that bottom right side of the map when ByuN was on the retreat. Yeah, Kira, he did not stop letting on the gas with the Reaper production in that game, and he was masterfully rewarded for it. That was just so much damage done. ByuN basically decapitated before that game even really started, and now Kira is just one map win away from advancing in first place from Group A.
Yeah. You know, I don't know when we're going to get to cast a game like that again, but it was pretty wild to see. I hope we have more of a kind of drawn-out TVT going into this one, where we can kind of see where these guys are at in a more developed game. But TVT, again, it feels like every year it gets a little bit shorter.
Yeah, it is.
If you go all the way back to StarCraft like 1, in the early days, it was by far the longest matchup. It was actually bad for when StarCraft 1 was on cable in Korea. Like, TVT was an issue because it made the game look so drawn out and long, and you couldn't sell advertising space because the games just go on forever. And it was a little bit like that at the start of StarCraft 2, and now in StarCraft 2, it's like you can die so fast if you get out-positioned.
Yeah, TVT is in a really interesting place. It's always been my favorite mirror matchup, I think, just because the variety of styles you can deploy, the different kinds of builds. There's a lot. Like, everybody at the pro level right now feels like they just have this Swiss Army knife of TVT destruction capabilities, and they deploy it basically on a whim. But the current iteration, or at least the current meta of TVT, is so much fun. Not only do we have like half the players going mech, half of them playing Marine tank, the standard play, you also have the potential for a Gumiho TVT style where it goes late and you're rapidly expanding and you're maxing out at like 11 minutes on 5 bases, taking a 6th. And then you have games like that one where, you know, you both open 2rax Reaper. You're not necessarily looking to get a killing blow with that. It's kind of this middle ground where, you know, I'm safe if they go for a proxy 2rax Reaper on me. If they mess up and I have my 2rax Reaper, maybe I can get the momentum going and I can do some damage on them. It has the kill potential, but it doesn't always end the game outright. But just the fact that the early game is as varied and explosive as it is, and the late game is also as varied and explosive as it is, TVT just keeps getting better, man. I feel like it is the matchup that is evolving in the most fun way. It's a little bit sad that some of these Terran players are playing Protoss because of it, because I really enjoy TVT. But in any case, we are going into game number 2. It is match point. Kira leading 1-0. The blue Terran in the top right.
All right. ByuN versus Cure here. Probably going to be a very different looking game. But, you know, let's see what these guys got to offer. The fact that we had the kind of weirdness of that game was, I don't know, it's hard to ever recreate that, right? When the Reapers come out and you're both doing kind of the same weird opening to punish the other guy, but the guy who thinks he's in the lead because he gets the first engage is in fact way in over his head, and it's going to backfire.
Yeah, it was a very funny exchange of builds. I'm kind of waiting with bated breath if we're going to see another barracks get thrown down on both sides. But I would not mind seeing a more macro-focused TBT games. I feel like the matches, the maps so far today have been so fast-paced, actually.
It's been crazy how fast the games have been.
We were anticipating this a little bit, expecting today to be full of TBTs, but this is beyond my expectations in terms of the pace these games are progressing.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of tearing through this whole Group A here. So, for now, we have both sides going for gas. Builds basically mirrored. We have the first Reaper started here, along with the Orbital for ByuN. We're going to have the exact same thing here for Cure. Cure about maybe 2 seconds behind. So they're basically neck and neck right now. The factory's going to come down here, and we're basically going to have to wait to see what the real deviation in the build orders is. It is going to be ByuN making his command center on the low ground here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cure with a 2-gas opening is going to be getting that factory up before the CC. So we'll see if he's going to leverage that tech advantage to try and do some pressure. I still think back to Percival's build, and I think game number 1 versus Cure when he went for that really fast double starport play. And I'm kind of anticipating something, maybe not exactly that build, but something in the same vein here from Cure with this much faster factory. It's like, what, 30, 40-second difference in terms of speed?
Yeah, let's see what he can do with this. You know, he's going to okay, I thought he was going to cancel that bunker for a second. He is going to get that set up here. The later command center here is going to come from Cure. Cure will have the initiative, just due to the 2 different techs that are coming out here. He is going to get a second Reaper and a Hellion to come out here with this. We've seen this a lot in TBTs, where this is sort of the comp you use to try to come out on the map. Maybe you jump in their main with the Reaper and run by the bunker with the Hellion. Just, you know, a way to kind of punish anybody who's not being totally honest.
Yeah, the bunker generally pretty good at shutting this down, although I'm looking at that natural ramp right now for ByuN as we have a shot of it. There isn't another depot in the wall in, but you know, Cure with only 1 Hellion, he is not going to test fate and try and get past that bunker. Instead, just going to posture right now in front of this third base.
Does he want to like try to run up on the from the low ground and try to use the Reapers to just hit that Reaper and then where it just comes out?
Yeah, fast response there from ByuN. I'm kind of expecting that here from Cure, especially with those Hellions. You could try and get some damage done on the low ground. He's been able to, in the past, get some pretty good shots off on those high ground defending units. You can see ByuN, he's not really testing it. Cure immediately parking those Hellions in range. He's going to send these 3 Reapers right into the mineral line. Immediately, 1 SCV almost getting focused down. So far, only 1 of them falling. Now 2 workers falling. Cyclone is out, though, for ByuN, so he is going to be able to deflect this. In the end, 3 SCVs for 2 Reapers. And, you know, TBT, things have a funny way of equalizing sometimes with aggressive builds like this one and macro-oriented ones like ByuN, because it's now 28 workers to 27.
Yeah, kind of crazy. We've got Disable being upgraded here for the Ravens. Both sides going to be in that kind of Raven accumulation phase here. The Cyclone going to pop here for ByuN. And, you know, we got to see if and when the third base is going to be taken here. A lot of times that's when you're the flimsiest in a TBT, is when you're taking your third base. We've had games where they both go around each other and end up hitting each other there, or, you know, there's even the slightest overextension somewhere in the middle of the map and they're punished.
Yeah, TBT, I feel like after you survive the very dangerous early game in this matchup, a lot of it just comes down to that third base. And sometimes even just denying the third base outright with something like a soft contain. We do have ByuN being the first player to throw down that third command center, as Cure is still just continuing to power up with the faster Ravens, with the faster siege tanks. If somebody's going to set up a contain or go for any kind of break, I feel like it's going to be Cure. But he throws down his third command center right now, too. So he's actually keeping tempo in terms of the macro development. He's not adding in any additional production buildings just yet. He's playing it nice and safe. But, of course, when you do have this advantage in terms of getting the units out faster, the factory and starport units especially out faster, you can throw that third command center down right on the low ground.
Stim starting here for ByuN. You know, that third CC just kind of hanging out there, but if ByuN's not going to come out and try to do anything to it, I mean, it's not really being punished. I guess the reality is the Cyclone, the Reaper, the Hellion, even the other Hellion moving around to the top, you know, he basically sees if there's going to be any movement on the map, and so you can take a pretty cavalier third base going unpunished, and at the same time kind of keep that economic tempo lead. ByuN is sort of turtled up here. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with making the command center in the main. Sometimes it's actually the smarter move, but if you can make the command center out on the map and you don't lose the SCV, and you could start an orbital there or land mules and transfer SCVs immediately. It is really nice. I mean, especially in a mirror matchup where there's not as many ways to express a lead. Sometimes the raw numbers are the way to do it. And he's going to – I don't know how committed this attack is going to be. I guess it'll also depend on the positioning here for ByuN. But, you know, if ByuN is treating this like he's just going to be dropped, by the way, no medevacs here for Cure. Cure might be able to actually, well, you know, basically have his cake and eat it, right? He might take a third base and actually just come up here and punish the entrance.
Yeah, I imagine this is just going to be a full contain right now from Cure. He might even start to inch towards that natural expansion right now. As it is, it's ByuN who's going for 1-1. Actually, hold that thought. Stim pack, 8 seconds away from completion. Cyclone does lock on. No scan to keep it there. ByuN, he knows that Cure is posturing. He knows that Cure is setting up for this contain. Are we going to have SCVs pulled with this? Instead, no, it's just the Marines stimming forward. Disables coming in from the top side. Auto turrets get thrown down. 2 of those siege tanks immediately out of the mix. Keep in mind, Cure, he does not have stim. Right now, the trade going much better for ByuN. It seems like he might actually be able to break this. Those siege tanks fighting through the disables right now. There's only 1 tank left standing here. Oh, and even Micro with a medevac dropping those siege tanks. ByuN with a big statement right there. Cure had a lot invested on trying to delay that expansion, that third base expansion here from ByuN. But ByuN just with a perfect stim timing and even the confidence to not pull any SCVs tasteless and just wipe that army off the floor. Very impressive engagement here for ByuN.
Beautifully done, and now we got to see, is the counterpunch going to be just as strong? He's going to come in. Now, you know, the tanks, a lot of them were basically just sacrificed to the disable there on the Ravens. 3 tanks in range of this. Excuse me, he's going to pick up the 3rd tank, and I don't think the Viking's going to chase it.
No, the siege tank actually going to make it all the way here into the main base. 1-1 is already done here for ByuN, so these Marines are very dangerous. SCVs have to evacuate. They're heading immediately to the natural expansion. 3rd base also getting lifting up. Man, ByuN is turning this game on its head. Even these buildings getting delayed.
He's going to come up here. He will be able to wipe this. He could even try to turn his shots onto the medevac. The medevac's not going to be pulled away in time.
Wow! The focus fire there from ByuN, just shift-clicking all the Marines, knowing that he has the upgrade advantage, is somehow able to take an even better trade and escape with a couple Marines' lives. He's going to continue inching forward right now. Cure, yes, you do have the air superiority here, the Liberator and the Viking, but my Marines are too strong, says ByuN. Oh, this Viking just barely alive on 1 HP. 2 HP is able to finally clean up these medevacs, but man, ByuN is getting so much damage done. He is still dropping the main base.
I mean, he's looking so strong right now. He's got these 2 Marines that are just going ham inside the main base. I'm not even sure if ByuN noticed, or Cure noticed initially, excuse me. He's going to pull away. A 4th base taken right there. Cure, by the way, has shifted the command center that was in the position we're looking at now. It's over in 3 o'clock here. Now, the question is ByuN, by any measure, overextending? Because it seems like he's starting to get fended off. Is he gonna get that?
Oh, I think he might. Given that path, a little bit of a risky shift click right there for ByuN, not going too deep into the dead airspace. But man, Cure needs wins like that if he wants to come back in this game. More to your point, Aceless, I feel like ByuN, even though these are some pretty cavalier moves that he's doing over on Cure's side of the map, I don't mind it because he is keeping Cure so busy that he is able to very quickly establish this 4th base. And yes, the trades over the last maybe minute and a half have not been very cost efficient, but you see, as our observer pointed out just there, the income advantage, massive in the favor of ByuN. +2 infantry weapons, going to be a lot faster for ByuN, as well as +2 infantry armor. Even vehicle weapons getting added into the mix here with that armory. I mean, unless Cure somehow takes a dream engagement, ByuN is just in command of this game.
Yeah, he's going to try to come here from this side. And I mean, it's not that well defended, right? He can slip 1 tank down here. I think that's not quite in range of the command center. Yeah, maybe he gets the SCV. No, he can't. He can't hit it from there. He might need to get a little vision boost or something.
Yeah, it's really close. He can hit the SCV. Can he hit the command center though? Okay, just barely. I mean, these are some dangerous Marines from ByuN. 2-2 is going to be finishing up very shortly here. Is ByuN going to wait for 2-2? He can't lift this off. Cure is stemming forward. He wants to focus down this planetary. He actually is able to confirm the kill right there. Wow, planetary gets taken out. Cure, man, nice move with this siege tank line. Able to zone away the Marines of ByuN and get a really big win. 2-2, it is still getting closer to completion here for ByuN, so you gotta be very careful as Cure continues to push forward. As it is right now, bases they have equalized. That was a much needed win for Cure taking down that expansion.
I mean, the fact that he drives that away is big. remember, the command center was obliterated. So it's not like he just lifted it off and he can go somewhere else. That's what Kier was able to do earlier. Now, I don't know if this is an overextension. Well, it actually might work just because the tanks were unsieging. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, but with 2-2 right now done for ByuN, these Marines are so deadly. It's going to be quite a while until Kier is able to equalize. Yes, he does have the faster +2 infantry weapons coming in, but infantry armor is quite a long ways away, and now Kier, he's going right into the main base, but ByuN anticipates! He gets there first! Not able to take out any of these medevacs, but he immediately just pulls Kier back, and now the Vikings can confirm the kill! Wow, what an anticipation there from ByuN.
Yeah, great play from ByuN. A real back-and-forth game so far. Now, ByuN has a lot more to fight with. Kier is a bit spread out, and oh my god, he almost goes into the siege tanks. I don't even know if he scanned that, or if that was just pure intuition to kind of pull away at the last second there.
Yeah, saw the Marines, it's like, okay, there's probably siege tanks right behind these guys.
You know, the glass cannon principle, it works in early game, and it works the same in late game. Like, if you overextend with enough Marines in a siege tank, suddenly you're going to lose a fight you would have won.
ByuN right now with this army, Kier does not know there's double medevac drop going into the main base. The main base is sorely undefended. ByuN even able to catch some engagements like this with the siege tanks unsieged. He is buying so much time. You can see as the units lost tab is pointing out. ByuN a lot more efficient in this game, but still just 3 command centers. Now he's coming here into the main base. No defenses in sight for Kier. So the medevacs are going to be able to fully unload, and ByuN right now is posturing with Kier. A little dance in the middle of the map. +3 infantry weapons and armor are right here, Tasteless. They're going to get taken out.
This may be the game-winning play here. He's going to get both the E-bays. Kier will fight back and wipe out the drop. But, I mean, the reality is that you're losing so much by not having the same kind of strength with infantry. He's going to have to restart those 2 E-bays, although I don't see them starting just yet. In fact, Kier's instead maybe going to try to just force this game to an end by attacking in from an angle. It is 4 base to 3, by the way. That is one thing. Kier is just now finishing his 4th base up here, where ByuN is basically just sitting on 3 and has not landed a new CC over there.
Yeah, I feel like ByuN, he might have thought, based on the early game advantage, that he could just end this game outright, and so he hasn't remade that 4th command center just yet.
He does start the 2 E-bays. Kier is starting that.
Yeah, Kier is still going to go for the 3-3, but I'm a little bit concerned here for ByuN in terms of macro. I feel like at some point you're basically going to have to lift off the main base command center. Okay, wait, we actually do have a 4th command center here for ByuN, so the situation is not quite as dire as I thought. But Kier has been able to fight all the way back to a maxed army. The really scary stage of the game, though, is going to be the upcoming couple of minutes where ByuN is 3-3 and Kier is waiting for his to finish.
Right. I mean, if 3-3 is going to be done for ByuN before 3-3 has started here for Kier. And the amount at which infantry can melt things is insane at that phase of the game. So we see actually 3-3, I was wrong. It's actually going to start right as it finishes, but you get what I'm saying. So now we've got another another small group of Marines that's going to come in here from the side. I don't really see anything defending here.
Ooh, but Kier anticipated this. He had the sensor tower, so he saw those Marines moving in. ByuN's going to use that to try and take down at least this one siege tank. Not a planetary over here at this 3rd base. Remember, this is the command center that lifted off from the triangle 3rd all the way down here, what feels like years ago when ByuN was leading in this game by a pretty considerable margin. So that's a point of contention that ByuN could try to exploit, but as it is right now, Kier has him running back on his heels all the way back to this 3rd base. ByuN has been able to establish another expansion all the way at the 10 o'clock. He's posturing just outside the sensor tower to the north, maybe thinking of pushing that orbital, but instead now pivoting back towards the center. Kier is going to go for another drop. Siege tank is defended by the Marines.
ByuN is continuing to maintain his lead, but that window is going to close in a lot of ways. 3-3 is halfway done. Kier can just stay in the game as long as he can until he's knocked out here by ByuN, and we're going to go into an insane late game TVT, which is kind of what I wanted with these 2, by the way.
Yeah, and a Marine tank late game at that, too. This is really fun, really explosive. So much of the game is just hanging on a thread at every moment. These Marines now coming to the main base. Double-digit SCVs going down. Oh, no, not again. No. There's no way you're going to take that down again. Are you, ByuN? He's trying to focus it down. He stims again. +3 once more denied by ByuN. +3 infantry weapons denied twice in a row as Kier. I feel like that's like 5-6 minutes he's been pushed back on these upgrades. That is so painful. He restarts the 2nd eBay. Oh, my goodness. ByuN just solidifying this upgrade advantage for the foreseeable future.
I mean, that's insane. To have both the upgrades denied once, and then it's going to happen again, and it was the attack upgrade. It's funny he's making a second eBay.
The +3 armor is going to finish at the same time as the eBay, but hey,
Can't really blame him.
Hey, maybe if ByuN drops again, he could start high sec auto tracking or something. Be like, hey, you have to pick and choose which one is it. In any case, Kier right now stimming forward. He's looking for a win, but ByuN is doing such a good job of keeping pace. Wait. Holy crap, we have 17 siege tanks for ByuN? 17 siege tanks for ByuN? That is so many siege tanks, Tasteless.
Oh my god, he's going to force his way through here.
You can see the upgrade advantage at play right now. That looked like it wasn't very bad of a fight there for Kier, but ByuN able to take the lion's share of the trade. Much more favorable exchange for ByuN's side of things. It's 17. Where even are all these siege tanks? I see 5 on the screen right now. There's a couple that are roaming around with the army, but I can't believe we have 17 tanks. 2 more in production. Yeah, close having 20+ tanks. All right, Kier, he's stepping forward again, trying to break through. He's able to focus fire down with his siege tanks, with his Marines. The front line of tanks here for ByuN, but there are so many more tanks coming to reinforce. The orbital command, it is not going to get taken down, but Kier's doing a very good job of dislodging ByuN from this position. I must say, given the fact that +3 has been denied so many times, Kier is making the best out of a very bad situation, and he's going to be going for a huge drop in the main base, just out of vision of ByuN.
Now he's ready for this counterattack, but does he actually have enough? He sieges up, and on some level, ByuN almost bound.
Oh!
Whoa!
Man, the SCVs must have barely glimpsed it. Somehow that one medevac barely surviving right now, and he's going to stem forward. He's trying to even set up these not these mining camps, these missile turrets, as Kier's going to drop right here behind these gases, trying to entrench himself in this position. This is a really tough spot to dislodge Kier from. If ByuN wants to stem forward into that position, he's going to bleed out a lot of bio, especially with Kier up here on the top right. And you can see at 12 o'clock, Kier, he knows that ByuN is going to have to commit a lot to try and force these units back. He's going to use this as an opportunity to go for that 10 o'clock base.
I mean, I got to say, Kier is kind of making this work regardless of how bad this position is. Uh-oh, we're having a little bit of lag here.
Yeah, all right. This is the most dramatic Marine walk into a siege tank line I think I've ever seen.
It's the chunkiest Marine movement ever.
Just keeping us in suspense. Marines now stimming forward. They're going for the planetary. Keep in mind, no +3 infantry weapons just yet here for Kier, so those Marines will have a hard time taking down the planetary, at least harder than it would if they had +3, as ByuN is now sieging down to the 3 o'clock base. These guys going blow for blow right now. Units lost, getting closer and closer to equalizing. Somehow Kier is hanging in there.
Yeah, I think ByuN might have done it. He's got a lot of damage being dealt in here over time. There's so many tanks.
Whoa.
Oh my god, actually, somehow Kier's going to come through here and tear this up.
He is, but this is such an expensive trade, Tasteless. These siege tanks, the 17+ siege tanks we had from ByuN, have been able to get so much damage done. +3 infantry weapons finally is complete. But is it too late? ByuN, he's pushing in. He's taking out another orbital. He is near maxed. As Kier, he's trying to hang on right now. He's lost a lot of SCVs, and he's losing a lot more. 49 SCVs have fallen over the past minute. So much damage being done. The standing army for Kier, it still has a chance, but look at the income disparity.
I gotta say, man, I think we are almost to the end of this game. Kier down to 18 SCVs. But on some level, I'm almost blown away by how well Kier played, considering how hard this game was for him. Like, this is kind of crazy. ByuN, by the way, pushing up into the infrastructure. And Kier's going to go for a counterattack. Now, I have to imagine ByuN has enough to fight this down here.
And the siege tank line is doing a lot of the heavy lifting right now here for ByuN as Kier's continuing to stem forward. The Marine count thins out. ByuN is going to tie it up 1-1. And that was a really fun TBT game, man. I'm kind of giddy after that one.
That was like, how long did he not have +3 attack? Wow, ByuN had that. Like, that was insane.
It feels like ByuN delayed that 5 or 6+ minutes. It was crazy.
Yeah, but Kier was actually, like, hanging.
Yeah.
He was making it work. Like, it was pretty crazy. Interesting game. I think that some of it came down to Kier being a little bit overexposed positionally early on, and ByuN had that counterattack that looked really good. And then, of course, the biggest moment was the drop on the 2 eBays. The fact that he came in there, he did that damage, and basically locked him out of tech that you need basically the most important tech there is at that point in time. So we're tied up 1-1. We're going to be going on into game number 3 here, and we're going to have a winner for this group, for Group A.
Yeah, Ultra Love going to be the deciding map here, Cure versus ByuN. Ultra Love, a map where TVT, usually it's a lot more timing attack focused. Ley lines, you can get a lot of macro done the same way that we saw Cure and ByuN do in that previous one. Ultra Love, I feel like stylistically this is probably going to favor Cure. And I'm actually feeling really confident in Cure's chances of just advancing in first out of this group. Despite losing that last map, let's kind of think back on everything that took place. Cure went for the faster tech. He didn't go for the faster expansion. And he tried to set up a soft contain there on ByuN and keep him locked in on just 2 expansions when he had the 3rd command center done. But ByuN was able to just kind of completely derail that game plan at minimal loss, too. He didn't even need to pull the SCVs. Stim finished at the perfect time. ByuN with the Ravens coming in on the top side had a miracle engagement and was able to just completely unseat Cure, just dislodge him from that position. And then we think back to ByuN's counterpunch, him moving across the map, forcing Cure to relocate from the triangle third all the way down to the 3 o'clock with that orbital command center. The double engineering base getting shut down twice, I think. So many things broke in ByuN's favor, and still it was that hard to actually kill Cure.
Yeah, it's like we were saying. My takeaway is almost like Cure is so good that ByuN's going to have a game as good as that last one or better. Kind of refreshing to have a longer TVT in that last one. We're ready, by the way, to hop into game 3. Let's see who wins between these two. Cure in the bottom left and ByuN in the top right.
Yeah, whenever you have a lot of Terrans in a group like this one, I feel like that's the kind of game that you are hoping to get. And ByuN just is so consistently able to deliver them. But I say that tasteless. I don't know if we're going to get the same game here in game number 3.
Not.
Already, 2 of the boys have been pulled. We're going to have some proxy barrack shenanigans here.
So, for Cure, I mean, let's see how prepared he is. He gets his gas. I don't know that there will be a second barracks here in the main for Cure, especially because it's already kind of happened in game 1. It would be surprising if it were to happen in game 2. So we have to assume he's kind of teching up here.
Yeah, I wonder how many barracks it will be for Cure coming in. ByuN, he has the 2 racks proxied here in the center of the map. And this is the kind of situation where potentially, actually hold that thought,
I think we're getting some lag here. We've got Mapu observing this game. And I think we can go back to the preview screen now. It looks like the game's back on here.
Yeah, a little bit of a hiccup there. Of course, these first stage jitters, trying to get him out of the system early. Cure is going for the 2 barracks here in the main base. Now, this is potentially going to be a hold for Cure. The production is going to be a little bit behind ByuN because that second barracks is slightly delayed, but he does have the defender's advantage, Tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going 2 racks, I was just saying a second ago before we had that lag spike that, like, if there's probably a lower chance you do it again, right? He already did it in game 1. He's ready now here in game 2. And, you know, if you're 2 racksing and you're defending against a guy who's 2 racksing trying to be aggro, the guy, if he fails with the aggro, he's just in sort of a weird position later on.
Yeah, a lot of this is going to come down to these first couple engagements. Is Cure going to send this Reaper cross map? He might just immediately spot these 2 barracks. If he does, before these extra Reapers get out, that would be huge. Reaper, I think it just barely missed it. Yeah, he just barely missed it. So he does not know just yet. The Reaper is going back to safety, and I think the moment these 2 Reapers come in, Cure is going to know, but his second Reaper is already done. He is ready for this. He might even go down to the ledge. Oh, first Reaper, it is going to fall on both sides here. Cure, he is going to chase. He doesn't know proxied where it is just yet. These grenades, the bounce is so funny. Oh no, Cure! Hoisted by his own petard. That grenade ushers that Reaper to its own demise. And now ByuN with a little bit of momentum here. This is the kind of win that you need as ByuN if you're going for this aggressive play into 2-Rex Reaper defensively.
So crazy. Well, accumulation is building up down here at the bottom of the ramp. They're both getting a factory. It's going to be Cure's finishing a little bit earlier.
Yeah, but this is starting to snowball. Cure with some good micro is finally able to focus that one down, but the Hellion only just now starting. The SCVs have to get pulled. So much of this going down to that last grenade at the triangle expansion. A lot of SCVs falling. Now, this is the kind of game where there is a potential for this to normalize. ByuN is going for an expansion of the natural, but so far, just given the way these builds have lined up, you're kind of expecting Cure with the defensive 2 barracks to have a much more tight defense than it has been executed thus far. And part of that is just the way that Fate has decided this game to go. Part of it is because ByuN has had some really top-tier micro as he once again pushes up the ramp. Even that one Reaper just barely surviving here. ByuN is making this work, man. This is impressive.
Yep, and you can see he's abandoning this position. He's got one barracks that's going to lift off and go back home. The other will probably go back towards the main of his opponent. You basically use that to scout and try to confirm, okay, what kind of game exactly are we in right now? The Reapers are going to come up here, and there's going to be a punish on this command center that's put out here. It's not in a safe spot, and it's going to be ByuN running up into this main. Does he actually have enough? It doesn't feel quite that safe to me. The Hellions pulled away. ByuN in a little bit of trouble on both fronts. Cure has enough to kind of hold everything off, but at the same time, Cure's got enough to do some serious SCV damage here in the main.
Yeah, ByuN with some really fancy micro, the natural expansion of Cure. It looked like a fight that he couldn't take, but he took it and it went pretty well. But Cure just got so much counter damage done on ByuN's side of the map during that. 6 SCVs falling is quite wild. This is a lot of workers being taken out already. Is this barracks here for ByuN, it is going to scout and confirm we do have an additional barracks, so it's not going to be some kind of super factory heavy play coming in from Cure, but I must say that counterattack by Cure, so much eco damage done to ByuN. It felt like things were really going in ByuN's favor the last couple of minutes leading up to that moment, but now momentum swinging back in the advantage of this blue Terran.
Okay. Medevac is going to come across the map now, and it's getting intercepted by a Cyclone. So much damage. Can he actually get on? Oh, that's insane, dude.
Just one hit away. Cure did a really good job of getting the extra vision there with his Medevac, and now he's just going to boost forward. He wants to cash this Medevac. ByuN, he is retreating as fast as he possibly can. But Cure, there is a lot of momentum behind this attack. That Medevac dreadfully low on HP, so is one of these Cyclones. Cure, is he just going to push up the ramp? He already confirms this. Now ByuN, he can lift up and cancel the lock-on, but he doesn't make it happen. One of the Cyclones already falling, and now Cure is going to work on these SCVs. Pushing back up, the repair's been very good here so far for ByuN. It seems like he's going to be able to defend.
He gets the Viking, but at the same time, ByuN takes out the Medevac, so no pickups there. ByuN fights him off.
5 more SCVs going down. The workers, they had equalized earlier on, but now Cure with an 11 SCV advantage at the 6-minute mark, and he's already throwing down the 3rd command center. This is a nice economic lead here for our blue Terran, but is he going to get too greedy? He's already going for double engineering bays plus that 3rd command center. He does have room to do this, but should ByuN decide to completely commit to a timing attack, he already has 2 Vikings. We have a 2nd starport going down. I think that's what ByuN's doing. There is a narrow path to victory with a timing attack against this very boomy style that Cure is playing right now.
Okay, we've got the Cyclone drop coming in here now, taking out these SCVs that were making these buildings. But he's going to have to take out these Vikings if he wants to be able to get back out of here. He picks off one.
It's looking pretty good. Marines are coming back in to defend now. So far, this trade going really well for ByuN, and I think he's confirming exactly how greedy Cure has been. The Cyclones clutch SCV pulled by Cure, able to get this around. The Medevac also going to fall here to the Vikings, but ByuN has been allowed, this has allowed ByuN, I should say, to already entrench himself right in front of Cure space. He's even landing the Vikings. He wants to take this 1C shake down. He's able to do it. The Vikings even lifting up. Keep in mind, we do have a 2nd starport here for ByuN. There is a lot more push potential coming.
ByuN's going to try to move in, but I don't know that he has that much right now. I mean, this just feels like it's hard to pull off. So he's going to start to chip away at these SCVs on the exterior. And, you know, with the Viking count, you have that vision range boost. Tanks shoot further than they can see, as we all know. So it's, you know, very difficult. Basically, the command center is eating damage. It's really puts the clock on this whole position. And I think Cure is debating kind of dropping and going around this. And I don't know if he wants to go to the main or he wants to kind of come in here and drop on the tanks from behind. You know, the tanks don't have a lot covering them other than Vikings kind of staying out in the front to try to get in the way. He's got to repair that CC more, by the way.
Yeah, Liberator now coming in. It doesn't completely cover the hitbox of the command center, so these SCVs are able to repair at this very narrow angle, and it's actually not going to be the surround that Kira is going for. Instead, he's sending the drop directly into the natural expansion of ByuN. The command center, it is lifting up. The Vikings are taking it down. It should be able to get repaired, but now there's this huge drop in the main base of ByuN.
And I mean, this is a lot of Marines stimming here. SCVs are being massacred. This is just as plus when infantry finishes. He lost 36 workers. Who needs a second base?
Yeah, man, Kira just able to make the best out of a really bad situation with ByuN knocking on the front door. He's got the confidence to pull everything into those two medevacs and just full send it into ByuN's base. 38 SCVs follows result. Now with a stim forward, he's going to try and charge down, but it's a little bit of a logjam. Some of the Marines were attacking the Liberator there, and that means that ByuN's siege tanks got some very good shots off, but still, Kira just completely camping the production right now. There's basically no income for ByuN, and there's frankly no production potential because he's completely locked up. The only thing that's really standing strong is the Liberator.
I thought it might be. Okay, he's just going to, yeah, that's going to be.
Wow.
Kira is a god. What?
That was a pretty sick game. I really thought ByuN was turning it around because Kira, he went for the third command center, he went for the double E bay, and then ByuN was able to go for that cyclone drop in the main base, pull the entire army back, and then inch all the way up to the natural expansion. His siege tanks and Liberators almost completely covered that CC. It had to lift. Yeah. And we saw Kira lift up in those two medevacs. He was, we thought, maybe going for a surround once Stim was finishing, like pull the SCVs, Stim, unsiege, try and dislodge ByuN. No, he just went straight into ByuN's main base and just decapitated him. That is some killer instinct, and he's going to advance first place of this group.
Beautifully done. Guys, we're going to go take a short break. When we come back, we're going to go to the losers match here of Group A of the RSL. we're back. Welcome. The RSL continues on. Cure is our first survivor here today. I hope you've been enjoying the show today. We've had a couple of audio hiccups. I think it's only streaming in 720p on Twitch.
Yeah.
We can fix that by tomorrow. It's kind of like this plane's already left the airport right now. Some of the things we're going to fix the following day, but we put a lot of love into this. StarCraft II is in kind of a weird spot. It's been in a weird spot for a couple of years since Blizzard wasn't really pouring the same support into it. And what I wanted to do is basically get some kind of a seasonal tournament that is sustainable, because I've worked on plenty of esports projects, StarCraft II and others that weren't sustainable, and sustainable in whatever form that is. And so we wanted to have some kind of production that would honor the feel of all those old, the early StarCraft II leagues back in the day. I grew up watching the OSL and the MSL. I'm sure most of you guys, were watching GSL, back in the day, even now. But I like this kind of seasonal format, this long version format of a StarCraft tournament where you can digest it over weeks or even months. And so that's what we're trying to do here with RSL.
Yeah, and it's even going to get better later on in the year when the schedule isn't quite so cramped as we try to finish everything before EWC. Because as it is right now, we have, 4 days in a row?
We wanted to do, maybe 2 to 3 days a week, but then have it spread out. But, the only way we could have this whole season here is if we kind of railroaded it through. So we have the 4 days in a row here. Obviously, if you're enjoying tonight, come on the next few nights. You're going to be with us. We got a week off because Home Story Cup is coming up. And then we'll be doing the final 2 weeks before EWC. We also have merch already. Now imagine you're in your house and you're watching RSL, but you've got your RSL t-shirt on, but it's cold.
What do you do,
So
Tasteless?
you're wearing your hoodie too. But it's still a little bit cold because you don't have undies. That's kind of exciting. But you know what would heat you up is a little cup of coffee in an RSL mug.
Nice.
So go to tastelessthreads.com. That's where all of our merch is. I've got other personal merch up there as well. And, yeah.
It's a good thing we have you casting StarCraft II because you could have had a pretty good career as a car salesman or something, dude.
Would have sold you guys some really good cars.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So
just imagine you in a Guitar City, just peddling used merchandise. This guitar, it only has 3 strings, but trust me, the way you're gonna play it, it's gonna be fantastic.
Instead of selling used cars, I'm selling new merch. Go check it out. We're gonna do the losers match now. I think Spirit is gonna be picking Protoss here.
Yeah, I would expect it. He looked pretty good in the first match, at least map number 1, and I feel like here against Percival, already deploying Protoss versus Terran in the first series kind of signals to me that he might not be super confident in that matchup. Maybe this is just the way that he's preparing to take down Terrans in the future, is to play Protoss. But going up against Percival, who's not quite as hard a hitter,
I don't think he's as strong right now. I think it's like he can hang, but I feel like, we saw with Kira and ByuN, they're very active right now. That is obvious. Yeah. So, let's see what kind of game these two guys are going to create. And Spirit is Protoss, right?
I think we're about to see.
So Percival Terran.
Spirit is Protoss.
Okay. So I think Spirit definitely, knows what he's trying to do, but it doesn't seem like the movement is as clean or the decision-making is as clean. And that's kind of to be expected. Pretty much all pros. Even back when I played StarCraft 1 competitively a million years ago, I could play all the matchups. I kind of knew exactly what they're supposed to look like. But then when you get into nuanced situations, it's I don't know. Right. But yeah, let's see what Spirit can do. He has the liberty to pick an off race if he wants to go for that.
Yeah, going back to the previous series that he played against ByuN, that game number 1, he actually looked very solid. He was keeping pace with ByuN, who was trying to go for all sorts of harassments and timing attacks. And I felt like in game 2, things kind of fell apart a little bit, but I feel like this is kind of the way that sometimes these things go when you play an off race, or maybe just a race in general that you don't play quite as well, is that if things get derailed, it becomes an absolute train wreck. But if things are actually going to plan in some ways, Spirit's already shown that he can kind of hang with ByuN at least a little bit. That game 1, there were some dicey moments there for our Korean Terran player. And so here against Percival, who is just trying to establish himself right now in the RSL. If you're not familiar with Percival, he's been playing StarCraft II for a while, but he's also been playing these new RTS games. He was playing Stormgate for a long time. He was even messing around with Battle Aces. And he was, I feel like, perpetually top 8, top 16 minimum in those titles. And I know that because I kept hitting him on ladder in those titles, and he kept destroying me. And now, you know, he's kind of shifting his focus back into StarCraft II, and I'm really excited to see where he goes with this. Even if he falls in this group here in RSL Season 1, I would love to see Percival qualify again in Season 2 or Season 3, because we've had years and years of StarCraft getting a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller, and it feels like, you know, in GSL, for example, we basically don't get rookies anymore, right? But Percival absolutely feels like one of these players who, if you were to start playing a ton of StarCraft II and just absolutely lock in, I think that potential could get unleashed.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. In our game now, it's going to be the Twilight Council. I really want to see if Spirit goes and gets the Robo here as well. And if we're going to have kind of him recreating that build that backfired in his first game, but maybe trying to play it out right. I did feel like Spirit always had good Terran versus Terran, so I'm a little surprised he's doing this, but this appears to be the zeitgeist right now. This appears to be really kind of in the air of StarCraft II, as people really don't want to be, people really feel like Protoss can approach Terran in a way that's very, very tough for the Terran to beat. And, you know, it's interesting to kind of see what sticks and what doesn't, right? I mean, we have games that are patched in certain ways, like StarCraft II, where, you know, the patches obviously change the way people behave, but sometimes people might overreact to patches or overreact to changes, or everybody plays in a certain way because that's what the top 3 or 4 people are doing, and everybody's kind of farming their knowledge out from there. Then you have games where there are no patches and things still continue to dynamically change, right? So it's always hard to tell kind of what's what. And if there's going to be some kind of revolutionary thinker or player that's going to come break through with a different approach, in this case for Terran, on how to approach that. Now, that being said, by the way, it is the same build. There's a Robo coming down here, so it is a recreation of the build that didn't get him the win before, but, you know, I don't think it was a build or a loss as much as it was a decision-making loss on the map. But let's see what he's going to do.
Yes, third gateway coming in, too. Looks like Spirit is posturing for that third base. And on Percival's side of things, we have a Widowmine drop holding in here on the natural expansion of Protoss. There aren't any Stalkers in range right now to deal with this. Is this going to boost in? First Stalker is arriving. Immediate probe pull here by Spirit. He's able to defuse these mines quite painlessly.
Is he going to...
Okay.
No way. I thought for a second he was somehow going to get the other mine and then get away. I'm like, all right. So we're going up to the 3 gateways here. As Blink is done. This is very standard for Protoss. It is going to be the Colossus style of play. Now, let's not forget, ByuN was a little bit Marine heavy. And obviously, we only have Marines right now. So, I mean, I would say Percival, the comp he's got, what Spirit's going for, is pretty good against it.
Yeah, especially with how much Chronoboost he's been pouring into that Twilight Council. Blink already done and charge started. I feel like the odds are this is going to finish before the push is actually able to hit his base. And these are the kind of games where, you know, a Terran player off-racing his Protoss and playing a PvT, this is winnable. This is a pretty formulaic response, and a lot of it comes down to the control, not deep strategic understanding, not positioning. It's more about how much time are you able to buy here as Spirit, and how much damage you can get done with these Stalkers cross-map as the Terran player is trying to ramp up and eventually move across the map and effectively end you in what is likely going to be a 2-base timing attack.
So the Banshee is going to come right up into the main. He's just staying about an eye shot away of the Terran's base. And there is a battery here, which kind of negates any momentum you can have with that Banshee. The medevac is now moving across the map. Is that one Widowmine in there? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's the old Widowmine. Tried and true. They got one probe kill earlier. It's going to hopefully get a couple more here in just a minute. Spirit does have 1 Stalker patrolling. I'm not sure how many more are kind of waiting just off screen right now. And Percival, is he going to go for it? Indeed, he is. No reaction from Spirit just yet. He's actually focused on microing the middle, so let's see how many probes are actually going to go down. Did he go for the Stalker?
He's got
it looks like Spirit actually microed away from this quite well. So he was able to micro on both fronts, although got to be careful with these Stalkers right here. Ooh, 2 Stalkers going down.
Yeah, the Stalker's kind of bouncing around
there.
there.
No.
Oh,
This is a mistake a lot of people make with Protoss, is you build a pylon right at the edge, and then a Banshee can kill it. And Spirit was trying to get the Stalkers to hit it, but there's an angle where the Banshee's basically able to 1v1 the Stalkers.
Yeah. And
it got a Stalker kill. It almost got the pylon. Yeah, it's kind of a rookie mistake. Sounds weird to say because Spirit's a much better player than I am, but playing Protoss, yeah, you usually want that like one tile away from the edge, and so this Banshee already getting some good value.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you kind of got to just know. I think you're basically right. It is a rookie mistake in that, he's not a main for Protoss, so he's, making these moves that seem fine, and then there's a punish coming in here. He's going to move in right now. He's sieging up outside this space. The Banshee's going to – it's actually going to stop over here, so I think this one Stalker can get it, but meanwhile, the pushover here doesn't seem to be doing that much right now for Percival.
Great force fields by Spirit. That Stalker was able to confirm the kill there on the Banshee. And the attack is continuing, but Thermal Lance is about to finish Tasteless. Those Colossi are going to do a lot of damage to these Marines here on the front line, and it feels like it might be a little bit too slow. Honestly, with all these 4 medevacs, I'm tempted to wonder whether we should just lift up and go straight into the main base, but instead, Percival going to continue trying to push down this line. Spirit being nice and safe. He's taking this very slow, just using the range of the Colossus. He knows that he's not on a timer. He's mining from 3 bases, +1 is finishing, charge is done. It's Percival who needs to feel the pressure right now of killing the Protoss player, or at least getting more damage done.
I think that Spirit's positioning is almost perfect here. So the Zealots are going to come in, and this, I think, is just going to be overwhelming. I don't know that Percival can actually hang on right now. A little bit of sustain under that, but the tanks melt away. The Colossi shots can go on the infantry. Spirit with a beautiful hold. And, the whole time I'm watching the push happen, I'm kind of thinking, like, can Percival actually do this? This doesn't feel right. Like, the 3rd Colossus is out. He has 1 tank in range of the Nexus. The counterpunch here could be devastating. Keep in mind, the higher tech units for Protoss all survive that. So you're not really afraid of the 1 or 2 tanks Terran has. You can kind of not respect it and just move in and push it away. He's going to take this 3rd and force it to lift. The Vikings are going to come in, but I don't think they're high enough in number to even pick this Colossus off. But a counterattack here from Percival is going to wipe the 3rd Nexus out.
Yeah, Percival making this game very messy right now. SCV scrambling, trying to repair this 1 bunker, and a huge warping of Zealots. I think double-digit Zealots getting warped in. The Widowmine's not burrowing just yet, and so these Zealots getting very good connections right now. Most of the Marines have thinned out for this force, and on the other side of the map, 34-plus SCVs falling. There's very little ground army to be found here for Percival defensively. He is stimming forward. He is probably going to take down that Colossus. Yes, just barely. Does it get taken down? But, I mean, these Marauders are basically all he's got.
Well, there's only 19 SCVs left in this game. The command center is going to go down. But, with the medevacs, I guess there's actually not enough energy to heal everything. A lot of those medevacs are empty. It's 6 SCVs to 59 probes. And that being said, the probe count could drop dramatically just because there is a lot of Marauders and they could stim in here. At the same time, there's enough minerals that you can warp in, enough Zealots that I think eventually you could put this fire out.
Wait, is Storm done just yet? We had a Templar warped in. I think there's literally no energy recharge available. I think both Nexus are too low on energy to do it, so I don't even know if Storm is done, but somehow Percival's been able to survive in the main base. And the supplies don't fully tell the story, even though it is 105 to 39, well, so it tells a strong story. Basically, all of that is in workers, but unless Percival can somehow immediately convert this, not even army advantage, unless he can kill these Colossi right now, he's basically knocked out.
Okay, he's going to blink in over here. I don't think that there's an angle that Percival can win both of these fights with. You can win and beat a lot of Colossus with a small amount of infantry, but you need more than that.
Yeah,
so
GG.
Spirit takes it. The Protoss scum defeating the honorable Terran in his main race. You were right, Reddit.
Yeah. Spirit able to win. For Percival,
this is the whole future. Everybody's going to play Protoss. It's going to be nothing but a big mirror matchup. We finally, it was 15 years later. Protoss is the best race.
Yeah.
How many GSs did they win? Never you mind.
Well, they won all the GSLs this year, Tasteless. Things are getting a little bit better.
That's true.
But, even before Protoss was winning GSL and things were getting better, we already had players like Clem starting to off-race in PvT. I feel like The issue is more, I mean, obviously, some players are going to be doing it because of balance reasons. Some people are going to be doing it because PvT they feel like is just easier than TvT. I think mainly it's, at least from my perspective, a lot of it comes down to TvT just being such a difficult matchup.
It is its own kind of a curse of a matchup.
It feels like the
and
hardest matchup
like,
in the game, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's like, there's so many different branches in the build order. From the starting point when you tech, and then the fact that, like, if you're out-positioned at all, or even if you have kind of a bad engage or you lose control for a few seconds, you can be killed.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to game number 2 in a second here, and we're going to see if Percival can pull it back together. Pretty interesting game overall. They were both in sort of this base tradie situation. The fact that the SCVs are wiped out in such a high number kind of allowed at the very end, Protoss to just sort of pull through. We had these like Marines and Marauders that were starting to do a lot of damage, and it almost looked like, oh, maybe they could just stim and kill everything, but the medevacs didn't have enough energy. I think it was 4 medevacs total. And so over time, you just make enough zealots. I think the Protoss ended that with like 55 probes or something.
Yeah.
And even with mules, I mean, when you're down that low in SCVs, there's not a whole lot you can do.
It felt like there might have been a slim possibility of Percival bringing it back for a while when that drop was getting damaged on the other side of the map, because even though the supplies had this massive disparity, the army supplies, I mean, maybe not in those final moments, but in the few minutes leading up to them, they were relatively equal. And when you get to low army supplies, generally Bio's going to take the advantage from that. Colossi, they work really well when they have kind of an assortment of units supporting them. Sentries, Stalkers, ideally a ton of Charge Zealots to absorb those Marauder shots. And so I was wondering, is Percival actually going to be able to find some angle where he can come in with the Marauders, the Marines, on all sides, overwhelm the Colossi, and then despite having basically zero economy, win the game, pull it back? Because those scrappy situations, they're kind of tough to manage with what is, quote unquote, your off race. I'm not sure exactly how much PvT Spirit has been playing, but they can be very tricky if it's not a race that you have a lot of experience with. But in the end, Spirit, he navigated it quite well. As troublesome as it was, he was able to stabilize, able to convert the winning move, and he's 1 win away from knocking out Percival.
All right. Well, in game 2, we got to see, what exactly is going to be done differently. Is Spirit going to play more of this, like, robo on 2 bases into a later third? It's like a very safe way to play the game.
Yeah.
As long as you're not out positioned. And like on 3 bases, it's pretty doable for the Protoss to try to just meet the Terran where they are. We did have these sort of in real time moments where you could see like the pylon on the exterior, right? It's there to spot, but if you're a good Terran player, okay, I could put a Banshee out here. I could take fights one-on-one versus the Stalkers. So we'll see if Spirit makes the adjustments there for that.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably just going to be doing more or less the same bread and butter build. Because again, when you're off racing like this, you typically don't have very much of a range. If you have a strategy, there's one that you're doing and you're able to execute it very, very well. But if things get knocked off their rocker, then suddenly the whole plan is basically just derailed.
Yeah.
Right. And so for Spirit, I would be surprised if we saw anything other than like 3-gate, robo, take a third base.
It seems like he wants to follow this formula, basically. Like, this feels safe, this feels straightforward to me, and I don't have to deal with a lot of the difficulty that is TvT. Our game is finally ready, so we're going to be hopping into this. Right now, it's Spirit off racing versus Percival. Spirit Protoss, Percival Terran, obviously. It's a 1-0 lead here for Spirit, so let's see if he can do it again. And remember that the loser of this match is out of Group A.
Yeah, it is the elimination match. Feels like basically every map that we've had, except for I think 1 game in Cure versus ByuN, has been over so quickly.
Yeah, it's been some really short series here today. We'll see. I mean, imagine, a day of StarCraft, it kind of just comes down to what kind of games you're going to get, right? We've had short days, we've had long days. I am glad we had more of a drawn-out TvT overall series there with Cure ByuN, especially Game 2. That was nice. Yeah,
Cure versus ByuN was something special, man. That's a really fun TvT. I love mech. It's fun seeing mech games, but in my heart, I long for the days of Marine Tank and like basically every matchup. Same with TVZ.
Yeah.
Like thinking back to players like MMA versus Idra on like Test Bug, like the Marine Siege Tank parade pushes that we would see. I love it. That's just, even as a Protoss player, those are my favorite games to watch.
Why is there
Maybe check it in case there's like a SCV coming in for an engineering bait block or something.
You're right. Okay, that's what he wants.
I'm not sure exactly what the positioning is there on the natural expansion, but I'm assuming
he's got a little skateboard. He's going to ollie down the stairs.
It's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. He's going to grind on the edge of that ramp and try and get the multiplier going.
Points, yeah. So, for now, we're going to have another one of these slow starts. Terran's teching up. Protoss is going for the fast expand. I'm predicting it's going to be a Twilight Council and then a Robo.
Oh, yeah.
And, with Percival, I think it's a little bit harder to call. Not that Spirit can't deviate from the norm, but normally with an off race, you're going to probably be seeing a player follow a very specific set of ideas in the matchup and how to approach it.
Yeah, you really don't want to be experimenting with an off race in a tournament like the RSL. It's just a little bit too dicey. You're going to try and stick with one strategy that you know you can execute reasonably well, one that's basically going to have a flow chart in your mind of execution that you can follow. As this Reaper coming in is probably going to get at least one probe. Stalker is just now finishing up.
So he's going to be chased out once again here. We're waiting for that Twilight Council to start up here, and it looks like there it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's business as usual. Percival has the opportunity to maybe do something that's more of a direct counter to this. If he wants to come in and try to have some kind of an attack that maybe is engineered to take down a player that's going to go for a late third base with Stalker Blink, with Colossi accumulation, with a Thermal Lance inevitably coming up.
Yeah, but the thing about Spirit's playstyle is that this is just so good defensively all around. Is that thought Percival coming in with 2 Reapers and a Hellion. No shield battery done just yet, actually only halfway done. I don't even think we have an energy recharge available here for Guardian Shield, so there's a lot of damage coming in. Instead, it will be a force field. That Hellion can escape. Oh, it goes back for one more hit, somehow survives. Nice little engagement there from Percival. Oh, dude, an energy recharge, or if that Sentry was like a little bit faster, if it had gotten Chrono boosted out and we had Guardian Shield, that makes such a difference versus units like the Reaper. But instead, a nice exchange there for Percival earlier on. But yeah, going back to your point earlier about the builds and Percival potentially trying to snipe that strategy here in the series, the thing is that if you go 3-gate Blink into Robo with a delayed third base and you're getting a really fast Colossus, you're not really pushing the envelope in any way. You're not playing very greedy. You're not going for early upgrades. You're not trying anything crazy. It is a very, very safe kind of vanilla and oats style of approach.
It's a bit of a Captain Careful build.
Captain Careful, yeah, it's something old Captain Careful might do.
Yeah, it's like, okay, hold on. He's going to do a drop in here now. And these 2 Stalkers are definitely in a bad spot. The Cyclone, excuse me, is going to be able to take this out pretty easily.
Yeah, Percival wishes it was a Colossus.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of rough, man. I mean, between just how abusable a Cyclone is, and then how microable a Medevac can be with pickups.
Dude, Spirit might be too good being a Terran player with this mechanics because we don't have another energy recharge available for the shield battery. So many probes are going on. Oh, that's the real pain of Spirit off-racing here is Protoss, is that his Terran mechanics are just too solid. His energy on the Nexus, it's too low, as Percival's just getting all this damage done. And even if this gets cleaned up, oh, even the Sentry falls. 14 probes going down, and Percival has his eyes set on potentially going for a 2-base push.
Well, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's like Percival can just try to play a strategy engineered to punish someone who's getting the general unit comp that we're seeing here from Spirit.
Yeah, but honestly, I would say that I feel like it shouldn't work that way. It's just that it's kind of, again, this is the off race here of Spirit. This is him trying to work with Protoss versus Terran. Not his forte. He is a Terran player. He's a very good Terran player. One of the best in the world. And so a push like that one where it kind of felt like, actually hold that thought again, is this Medevac's going to get picked off. That is a nice win for Spirit. I mean, I feel like that push should not have gotten as much damage done as it did against a 3-gate Robo play with a delayed third base. But now we have that push building up into what should be a devastating creep of siege tanks into the natural expansion, especially with a Robo down there.
Yeah,
we don't even have a third Nexus. I don't think it matters.
I mean, the fact that the Robo is out here, not that that's the wrong spot to put it at, but when you're this weak, you're going to lose this tech building that lets you kill off tanks. In fact, he could even just try to take out the pylon. There's a lot of ways that this could go down. The Immortal is like 80%, 90% done, but the Pylon's unpowered, and so there's not going to be an Immortal in this game. A Warp Prism sits idly by as Spirit is too preoccupied dealing with this attack. And I don't know that this game is going to go on for that much longer.
I love Spirit. He's a real Terran player playing a Protoss player. He's like, what do I do in this situation? I make a Dark Shrine. Throws that one down. He's making some good moves here with these 3 Stalkers intercepting. Like, the general idea that Spirit is deploying here is right. Going for the flanks, intercepting the reinforcements, even adding in Dark Shrine in a situation like this one. But Percival is just so huge. This natural expansion is falling. He's even seeing the Dark Shrine coming. He's building a missile turret. Spirit's going to try and push him back, but this is just a little bit too much firepower and tasteless. We are going to a game number 3.
I love it. Great strat by Percival. You know, again, you do have to have a lot of different builds in a series, even where it's just best of 3s for that day, because, like, after a while, you do get downloaded. It does become a point where, like, okay, your play style is too formulaic, and then people just have to kind of play around whatever that weakness is going to be. I love the attack there at the end, but really it was about the little attack at the start. The 2 Reapers and the Hellion, the damage they did, and then Protoss is kind of spread thin, and the drops come in. He didn't have enough to actually hold that off. Didn't have any way to heal back there as well, and so the damage kind of piled on. Too many probes killed.
Yeah, it's very much exactly the point we were talking about before, where if things go to plan there for Spirit with his off race, clearly he has a good idea of where the game should go.
Yeah.
He takes the 3 bases off of a very safe early game macro build. He adds in the Colossus. He delays the upgrades quite a bit, so his army, it tends to have a lot of muscle. You know, there's a lot of resources invested not in greed, but instead on safety with extra gateways, with faster gateways, with a lot of chrono boosts, it seems, being spent on that Twilight Council. But then when things kind of go awry, like that one drop there for Percival, catching him out of position, and everything just, it's like an avalanche, you know? Like,
yeah.
It just takes one little rock going down the mountainside, and suddenly, 2 minutes later, you have a million siege tanks, all of these Marines knocking on your front door, and the game is basically over. If Spirit wants to play Protoss again, and he wants to try and leverage that into a win, mixing up with Protoss instead of Terran, the early game is going to have to be a lot more solid. But the thing is, again, with an off race, it's not like there's an easy adjustment to make. You're kind of like, it's like navigating a ship in the Middle Ages or something. Like, you don't have, the cartography is not quite there. You have a map of where the game should go, but like, is the coast here? Is it like 20 miles out of sight?
Then you go, we landed in India. And it's like, no, you landed in the new land.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see if he's ready and what he's got as we're going to go into game 3 right now. Remember that the loser is out of Group A here. The winner is going to go on to face off against ByuN in our final best of 3 for the evening.
Yeah,
so
Percival, the blue Terran spawning in the top right, and Spirit, the dishonorable race betrayer, playing Protoss in the bottom left.
He picked the aliens.
He picked the aliens.
He was a human player and he played the aliens. How could you?
This is something that I did, by the way. I remember I was playing on Blistering Sands, Wings of Liberty. Blistering Sands, by the way, terrible map. That's a throwback to like the original Wings of Liberty map pool, or maybe the Season 2 map pool. I played Terran. That was my main race because I watched a Husky StarCraft video where somebody on Desert Oasis went 5 racks Reaper or something. So of course I'm just making Reapers. I played, and my opponent had like 4 Colossus, and I didn't know how to micro Marine Marauder, and everything got lasered down, and I had like, I'm not playing on Reduced Violence, so I'm seeing like the Marauders and the Marines just melt into dust. And I was like, okay, this is the last game I play as Terran. I'm a Protoss player now.
Now I'm a scumbag Protoss player.
Yeah, that's Spirit today, man. He's just switching back up, playing Protoss, not playing Terran. And
mine was when I saw the movie Independence Day and I saw what their ships could do to the buildings, and I went, oh, all right, like let's just do that instead. So we got Spirit taking a Nexus again here, and he's going to be sending his probe out on the map. Percival, look, I would not be surprised if he comes out with something a little punchy early on.
Yeah. I would say that probably your MO here going up against somebody like Spirit, you've shown that if you can just kind of cause some problems, they're going to have a lot more impact than they would in a typical game, right? You think about a Protoss player like Classic, like Hero, like Zound, like Nightmare, any of these guys, they deal with that push and say in the early game, like they lose a couple stalkers, they lose a couple of probes, but things generally stabilize and they're able to transition out of that because they've been there before. They played hundreds of games where they were caught out of position and they took some damage and they're like, okay, well, if I want to transition into a mid game where I can stay alive, these are the adjustments I have to make. But here for Spirit, of course, playing an off race without those tens of thousands of hours of experience, it's a lot trickier. So I wonder what kind of wrench Percival is going to try and throw into the gears.
Yeah, I think if we're going to see anything surprising, it's going to be pretty soon here. He's got the barracks down here. We're going to have the starport started up in a second. Oop, he's going to relocate the barracks and then get the starport going.
It's got to be perfect, Tasteless.
Yes, my OCD. So we have a quick Reaper Scout. Again, there's nothing too much. You're kind of looking to see, is everything par for the course right now? Is anything really out of the ordinary? No. Okay, then I know what game we're going to be in. I assume Spirit's going to go for the Robo again.
Oh, it's a bold assumption, Tasteless.
I'm a brave
He's
guy.
only done it every game.
I'm assuming the sun will rise tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be Blink and a Robo almost assuredly here from Spirit. And as for me, my eyes are just glued in on the production tab here for Percival. It seems like he's basically going for the same idea as game number 2. We have the Cyclone, the Medevac is coming out. We do have a Widowmine mixed in. I feel like we're trending in the same direction as that Robo does get thrown down. Now, there is a shield battery done. Oh, man, that grenade's actually really good. Not going to be enough to get a kill, of course, with that shield battery, but getting some hull damage on the Stalker, basically, in a situation where by no right should you get that hull damage done is a nice win.
So he's going to pick up these two Widowmines, with the Medevac and send them out across the map. And there's always a couple tactics you can set up early on. Even against a player playing as conservative as Spirit is. You know, Spirit is not just throwing a second gateway down and trying to get a Nexus. By the way, this should make you appreciate like how good Protosses are. They can just have a third base and barely defend with anything. And also make sure their screen is over the position where the Widowmine drops come in, because that's one thing about StarCraft II is like not all early game interactions are fair on either side. Like, we can see this moment here. Okay, he's going to be able to take out the Medevac and probably just sack the 2 probes.
Oh, really, really nice retargeting there for Percival. Already lost the Medevac, but he's making the best out of a bad situation right now. Actually able to get a Colossus, get a Stalker and a probe.
Yeah, nicely done. So he cleans that up. I mean, I guess he'll take a Stalker. We don't normally ever see the Stalkers as the ones that are hit, but he's going to be getting his third base here. But, you know, Percival is powering up right now. He's got 2 Raxes, he's getting Medevacs, he's getting tanks. Remember, you know, it's an Observer first before... Do we even have the Colossus tech? We don't, no. So, I mean, the Observer just lets you see that you're going to be rushed and probably killed here. He's going to make an Immortal, but, you know, an Immortal, it's always about can they actually get close to the tank to fight it versus, you know, just be kind of kept at bay by the Marines. So the Observer, once again, going to see everything. Will he actually scan here?
Percival's actually pulling back a little bit here, which is surprising to me. I really thought he was going to commit to this push. Huh. And now he's maneuvering back, maybe trying to feed a little bit of bad information here to Spirit, making it look like this might be a fake and he's setting up for a third base or something.
Well, you know, also, you want that Nexus to finish if you're going to push. I like the DTs.
Yeah,
but, you know, the DTs, that shrine takes a long time. It's one of the techs it's hard to kind of like just switch into and get it out where you can recuperate.
Oh, Stim is done.
It is a glimpse into the Terran mind here of like, oh, well, these things are OP. We'll just make these.
yeah, that really is what it is.
Invisibles? Okay, we'll just go for that. The SCVs are pulled.
Yeah, no charge, by the way, here for Spirit. So if he warps in Zealots, it's going to be hard getting them in range. Instead, it's going to be a mostly Stalker army right now with 1 Immortal. Third base just finished up here for Protoss. He's going to have to defend with this shield battery. Oh, those siege tanks already locked onto the Immortal, getting so much damage done. 1 more volley, and it's going to go down. Indeed, it does. And with a stim forward, Percival, it looks like this third base's days are numbered. But how many scans does he have in the bank? Because that Dark Shrine, it's nearly done, Tasteless.
Yeah, this is looking ugly. All the probes but 1 are killed. The Nexus is going to go down. A Colossi was started and then canceled, actually, but a DT is going to be warped in. We're having a Disruptor instead, which I guess actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Does he have a scan in the bank?
Oh, is there no scan? Usually there's scans banked up with a push like this one because of the threat of a DT. Now, we don't have any DTs in the main or the natural expansion of Percival just yet. They had those orbitals highlighted just a little bit low.
He kind of just ignores the DT. He's like, wait a minute, there's not that much over here.
But the Disruptor might get some good shots off. Let's see. The Siege Tanks are going to get picked up. Okay, Disruptor gets killed by the tank. Kind of anticlimactic there with that shot. This DT is still doing work, though.
This makes you wonder what would have happened if he made more than one DT.
Yeah.
It's just one. I think the idea was like he sees one, he has to run away, and you have gas for other stuff. But instead, uh-oh.
For a second, I thought that DT might escape with its life. It does get taken down. Honestly, if there were 2 DTs warped in, I mean, Spirit had no way of possibly knowing this, right? But 2 DTs would have completely pushed that army back. That 1 DT had so many kills.
I think if he kills this Robo, this game's over.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
don't think you're going to come back with DTs. There's not going to be a mule landed in this game. Not until Spirit is out. The Robo tech's wiped, and the last Nexus is going to fall. And, I mean, that's pretty much all you got to know, man.
Yeah, that's the end of this story here.
Yep.
Spirit's going to go for one last Hail Mary. Blink in, able to take down one of the Siege Tanks, but it's just a little bit too much. Percival is going to win this series 2-1, and he will advance to face a ByuN in that final match.
Yeah, Spirit gave his off race a shot, and unfortunately, it was not enough. He definitely had some good ideas, but you know, this is why everybody ends up picking one race in StarCraft. Even if you see the strengths in the others, or you see what you believe to be OP, or maybe what makes it easier in other matchups, there's so much nuance and so many things you got to know to kind of play a complete, especially on a tournament level, group like this to get out. I mean, eventually everybody goes, okay, I know what you're going to do. You're going for this Robo before third base, and you're going to try to get Colossi or maybe DTs to stop my push, and you just get taken out.
Yeah, but I mean, to Spirit's credit, he was able to win a map, and he actually looked pretty good against ByuN in map number 1, too. I mean, he showcased some pretty good games for the fans, as the players would say, you know,
That's
tasteless.
Right. I hope I show great games for my fans. Well, guys, we're going to show a great commercial break for our fans. We'll be back in 5 minutes, and then we're going to go on to our final best of 3 here for Group A. welcome back. It's time to go into our final match here for Group A in the RSL, and it's going to be another TVT.
Yeah, rematch actually of ByuN versus Percival, right?
Right. Percival looking a little shaky here today. He did have his moments versus ByuN, but we're going to see if there's any opportunity for him to try to come back and make this work. ByuN had a great series against Cure, but in the end, Cure somehow had this kind of miracle Hail Mary win.
Yeah, by the way, Cure versus Percival, that first series, sorry, I'm a little bit, there's so many Terrans I'm getting confused.
I've done that so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what he can do. I think ByuN probably the favorite going into this, but I'm always welcome to be surprised.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Percival a little bit here because, it's just like, it's been so long since we've had somebody burst onto the scene in Korea and do well and hang with, like, the big boys like ByuN, like Cure, like Maru for Terran, and, like, everybody else for Protoss. It just doesn't happen. And so for Percival, somebody who's been having a lot of success in these other RTS games that are in their very early stages, I want him to come back to StarCraft II and focus up and do well. I think it'd be a really exciting development.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun to see him back again, but you're right. I think he needs a little bit more practice here. Guys, this is the state of StarCraft II. It never has to go away. It never has to die. We want to carry the torch on into the future. We wanted to have something that was well-produced, felt kind of streamlined, like the stuff you're used to watching. But we can only do it with your support. So please continue. Please proceed to patreon.com/Revive SC2. We've got different tiers depending on what you're able to give. And we want this event to be something that is sustainable. The more the Patreon goes, the more we can do. We have tiers, if we get enough, that we can do rent out like a live esports studio or stadium here in Seoul. There's about 6 or 7 of those that we can look at. We can keep increasing the prize pools. I mean, there's a lot of different layers to what we can do here. Took us a while to build this set. I'm actually really happy with how it came out, especially with like the lights and everything. But getting the computers, the equipment, everything together, us kind of staffing out this little studio space here in Seoul. We just wanted to make something that would look good, that would feel streamlined, and then still capture all the best games of StarCraft II, that we, the game that we love. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling here, but consider going to the Patreon, signing up. We need your support.
Yeah, I think the future is very bright,
especially not like Percival's webcam, though.
No, Percival, man. He made it even darker.
Percival is so deep in space, barely the light of the sun will show on his face.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the control room of Battlecruiser right now.
ByuN is inside of an empty apartment room. He's actually inside the walls of a mental hospital right now. There's something about, by the way, whenever I watch Korean streams, like especially on Soup, and it's just like there's something about Korean culture, Korean streamers, where a lot of times they don't decorate the room the way that like a lot of Western streamers do.
Yeah.
Like we have gamer lights. Okay, like let me tell you something. Do I game? Well, why don't you look at how lit up my room is in different colors?
It's like a rainbow.
Yeah.
Even my keyboard has lights.
Yeah, but a lot of times when I see the Korean pros, they're just there with like this kind of white wallpapered wall,
Yeah, it is funny. It is funny. I remember when we were going, there was an era, it might have been during, there's been too much GSL, so I can't remember. It might have been during COVID where we had the players like play from home, or it was maybe that one season where we were basically stuck in the nether realm with a green screen behind us.
Yeah.
Questioning our life choices.
Green screen GSL was the worst season of GSL.
I was getting depressed.
We were like, there's a floor that you guys have never seen where there's just a bunch of green screen rooms, and because of COVID and there was nobody there, they just put us in the green screen room, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah, but there was an era where we got basically a tour of every single pro gamer's room because of it.
Yeah.
And I remember the one that I was most impressed by, which just looked spectacular, was Solar had the nicest room.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, it was just
Solar had the best room.
It was like better than most professional streamer rooms that I have seen. He's got like the trophies behind him. He's got all these little plushies, the StarCraft II characters. I think there was like some Carbot characters.
It looked like a bigger room, too. I was like, he must be doing really well to be streaming in a room that big.
Yeah, and then you watch him play ZVZ and he beats Cyril, and you're like, of course. Of course he could afford this room.
It's the room. The room makes you good.
Yeah, in any case, it's gonna be fun getting the tour of all the pro gamer rooms again here in the RSL.
That's right. That's right.
A little glimpse under the hood.
And every once in a while, you'll see somebody's room, and you're like, oh, you got to clean your room up, man. We shouldn't see this. We're judging you right now.
No, I also lived that programmer life with the webcams, and I feel like people are generally pretty good about it. Like, you turn on the webcam before you go in the tournament, and you're like, okay, all of the mess is just immediately off screen.
Yeah, that's actually true. Well, people will make big like we're joking, but I've had people ask me, like, they see me in my streaming room and they go like, "Oh, hold on a second, we actually have a fight here."
Well, no, let's just keep talking about something else tasteless.
Well, actually, I think this is going to get driven away here. I think with the Marine and the Reaper, I don't think you can get that much done. I've had people, they look at my room, they're like, "Jesus, how can you live in a place this small?" I'm like, "It's a room in my apartment, guys. You have no idea."
Trust me, the stream doesn't see it, therefore it doesn't exist.
I'm like, you're right. My bed is under the streaming PC. Okay, so, we had a little poke in there from Percival. ByuN staying back. Now, the SCV finishes the command center, which is really important. A lot of times when these double Reapers come in there, they can assassinate the SCV, and everything just gets slowed down dramatically. But I don't know how much more Percival can really do. He's going to send his Hellion down here, but it just looks like the firepower is here. Marines are not that strong at this phase of the game, but getting the accumulation of Marines from ByuN means he's going to be able to do more later with them.
Yeah, and with the build that Percival's going for, unless you can really punish the immobility of those Marines here in the early game, no, ByuN's not going to be upset at all about the composition that he's choosing. He's got the faster command center. He's already, as you said, building up that Marine count, whereas Percival, he's teched up very rapidly. That command center is only just now finishing, whereas ByuN's already taking his third gas. He's already got the orbital. Worker lead is beginning to mount here for the Blue Terran. And I feel like from the Red Terran's perspective here, Percival, you kind of need to leverage this faster tech into some damage. But the early game, really nothing has been done just yet.
No, not a lot's happened so far. Both players are going to get their Ravens out here. And just try to, I mean, we'll see who actually attacks in here first. But it's been Percival pretty active on the map. I think ByuN, I mean, he's got to be feeling pretty confident. In some ways, it's kind of shocking that he didn't get out first today with how that game was going against Cure. Cure had this, like, crazy play that he managed to pull off. But ByuN, point in case is that he's looking really strong. Interference Matrix is about to finish up here for Percival. But I would guess he's going to get a little bit more as far as accumulation goes. We don't have a third base on either side. It's just going to be this kind of build-up.
Yeah, and ByuN now finally starting Interference Matrix. I really like the way that he's navigated this build order in the early game with a super fast third gas there, the natural expansion, and then delaying Interference Matrix, because he's been able to get all these high-tech units out, like the siege tanks, the Ravens, without too much of a hiccup in production. And behind it, like, the economic power, it's starting to spike. There's a third command center going down. Eventually, we're going to have some more production added in as 2 more barracks are started here for ByuN. But Percival, he is looking for a fight, Tasteless. And right now, ByuN, he's testing the waters a little bit right in front of his base. I'm not sure he's clued in on exactly what Percival has cooked up.
Yeah, Percival's sharking around. ByuN has sent some units back here into the main. Now, there's no medevacs here, which means the only way he can attack in is through the front. He's going to send... Oh, hold on.
Ooh. Lock on that Raven. Immediately able to disengage is Percival, and he's just going to siege right in front of this natural expansion. Both players are going for their third command center, so for Percival, this might just be him trying to set up a contain. But thinking back to ByuN versus Cure, ByuN did a really good job of breaking out of a contain that looked very much like this.
Yeah, he's going to try to find some kind of an opening. He actually clips that Hellion and takes it out. We've got the Ravens. The question is, when is he going to try to strike, if he tries to strike in here? The Ravens, by the way, for ByuN are way in the back. He wants to basically keep these out of sight and out of mind.
Yeah, he might also be thinking about moving them up to the top side to try and come in from an unexpected angle. There's a scan confirming exactly where those are going to be.
I don't know if he wants to try to just, like, dump auto turrets here. I feel like you could always counter that with one or two turrets of your own while you pull away.
Yeah, it's tricky because right now Percival's the one with air superiority with these Vikings, and ByuN really wants to come from the angle where the Vikings are not. And usually it's Stimpack that decides whether or not we're going to be going for it. Looking at the minimap, actually, yeah, the Ravens, they are kind of moving clockwise right around the top, setting up for a surround. Actually, Disable's going to come in on the Ravens right now. ByuN, he's pulling the trigger. Stim forward with the Marines. Siege tanks are unsieged. Percival actually tried to retreat from this position, but it feels like there's just a little bit too much here for ByuN. He was able to catch Percival unprepared, and that Stim got so much damage done. The contain already been broken. A massively cost-efficient trade here for the Blue Terran player, and now the counterpunch. It's going to be something really heavy, Tasteless.
Yeah, this is looking really scary for Percival. You know, he was definitely a little bit in over his head being that far out on the map. ByuN had a plan, basically banking up the perfect disables, trying to come through here. And, you know, it's that Marine count was so high, you can kind of trample the position that Percival had. Now, Percival, I think he's not done defending here. I think the third base is definitely an enticing spot for ByuN to try to come in here and hit. You know, it seems like Percival want to try to fight here, and I'm not entirely sure why, because there's so many tanks and Marines. In fact, am I wrong? Can ByuN just, like, basically move across the map and get a kill here? The tank count's so low right now for Percival. He has no way to, like, demand the push stop here from ByuN.
Yeah, Combat Shields is about to finish up. The only siege tank here at this third base. It's been disabled. Oh, even the medevac after the hot pickup gets disabled. It's 1-1 Marines barreling through into this third base. Those SCVs are dead to rights, and Percival, he might be looking at a loss here in game number 1 as ByuN stims forward. GG is called. And ByuN, I mean, talk about a counterattack. Percival tried to get aggressive, try to set up the contain.
Yeah.
On the more greedy ByuN, and just immediately got punished. I mean, the moment that stim pack finished, the Ravens coming in on the top side, getting the disables on not just the starport units, but also the tanks there for Percival. They had to unsiege, try and retreat. I mean, that was just a beautiful breakout.
Yeah, you know, when you see that many Ravens just, like, camping and accumulating energy, I feel like, first of all, I think it's hard to get away either way.
Oh, for sure.
Like, when you unsiege and they have a bunch of Marines, the scary thing is that they can just stim. They will catch your tanks. And I don't believe Percival had a medevac in that group.
If he did, it was probably only one.
There's almost like this, like, we got to burn our boats element to the push. You know, like, we burned our boats, we're here, we have to do damage, we have to make this work now. And basically, ByuN just runs the clock. Once he gets the disable on the tanks, he's able to stim, he's able to run in there, nothing can escape. Percival tried to kind of, like, toe the line in what he thought might have been a better high ground position. It was not. It was easily shut down there by ByuN. And then, you know, from there, he still has his Ravens. He's going to have an extra disable in the pocket, and so he just comes through and kills him.
Yeah, especially with 1-1 finishing up like that. ByuN's, his MO, for the most part today in TVT through these mid-games has been about utilizing upgrade timings. I'm thinking about that win he had versus Cure, and I believe the winner's match today, where he was able to deny +1 infantry weapons like 1,000,000 times. It was kind of insane. And even then, here against Percival, he's not in a position where he can deny those engineering bays, but he's actually able to get a huge upgrade advantage by going for those double E bays so quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean, ByuN is one of these guys kind of reminiscent of Marine King from years gone by, who is just so capable of getting value out of this small number of bio units, especially Marines, and situations where other Terran players probably wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I mean, he's very crafty in situations like this. I'm still kind of perplexed as to what Percival thought he was going to get done with that. You know?
Oh, man, it got even darker.
It got darker.
Oh, no. This is the sun setting on Percival's chances in the RSL.
I just imagine that he's actually hung upside down like a bat in a cave.
Yeah, the camera right now is inverted.
Yeah.
Light and dark. Yin and
Doesn't
yang.
his monitor give off light? Shouldn't we see his face that way?
Yeah, what's the gamma setting on that monitor right there, man?
Is he playing on, like, night mode right there?
He's playing on a Kindle, dude. There's no backlight.
Yeah, he's just...
It's just e-ink moving on the screen. You see the outline of the siege tanks. He's like, I'm reading the signs. I'm losing this game.
He's just playing on a screen with no blue light at all. It's just all yellow and orange. It's just a jaundiced computer screen.
By the way, we have Percival sitting out 2 very early SCVs here. We have a Proxy Rax. I actually love this coming in from the rookie here going up against ByuN. This is a nice move. I feel like when you feel like you might be a little bit outmatched, again, a lot of players on a stage like this one going up against 2 legends of the game in ByuN and Cure, they tend to kind of pull back into a shell and they get more conservative and more safe. and they oftentimes lose because they basically aren't trying to win. They're just trying not to die, right?
Right.
I love what we're seeing from Percival so far today, even if it hasn't really translated into that many wins. The fact that he's willing to go for these push plays, to go for these timing attacks, and now here against ByuN with literally his tournament life on the line, go for the double barracks, it's very exciting.
So we have the second barracks finishing. That's a tech lab, so this is going to be the this is interesting.
Yeah, we're going to have Marauders coming out.
I almost second-guessed myself there. Yeah, the Marauder tech. This is like where if it hits and you're not ready for it, you die.
Yeah, this is fun. You know, usually when you see double proxy or Marauder like this, I feel like it's a lot closer to the opponent's base. Like, you do this at the third base location.
Yeah.
But Percival just really does not want this to get scouted.
Well, this might work. Now, the problem is like, you're in a really weird spot if this doesn't do the damage it needs to do. ByuN, keep in mind, like, if you scout cross spawns immediately, then you're just going to see, you know, that there's barracks missing. But he hasn't done that just yet here.
Hey, Percival, already rewarded for this proxy location. ByuN with that Reaper, he sent it down to the 12 o'clock third base, checked that location, and then came back. He doesn't know the Marauders are on their way just yet. This command center, it might not be able to finish. This is looking really deadly. We have a reactor behind the Reaper.
Yeah, I think this might just work, man.
I think this is just going to completely blindside. Oh, no, he switched into Hellions right now. He immediately cancels them, immediately puts the barracks back on the reactor, but the production is so late. Right now, Percival, it's all about the micro. He does not want these SVs to get us around. There's very little firepower right here for ByuN. A Widow Mine, 2 Marines started up. ByuN trying to use the high ground advantage of vision to mitigate the damage right now. For Percival, it's really a race against time. So far, this is a lot of damage building up, Tasteless. That Reaper, it is going to go down. You cannot run away from these concussive shells.
Yeah, he's going to maybe take this first Marauder out. He's going to micro back in the last second. There's so many Marauders.
Now, there is a Widow Mine here. Is he just going to sacrifice one Marauder? Yes, he is. GG is called, and Percival, with a sneaky tactic, able to steal a map win, and now it's all going to come down to the final map.
I really like that.
That was a cool play.
That was smart.
Yeah.
Just far out enough that, you know, he checks for the third, doesn't see anything there, and the Marauders get in there. It's one of those things, like, once the initial damage starts to kick in, it's so hard to save SCVs. It's so hard to get the tech out that you need. The fact that a reactor was made there, reactors already make so slow.
And then he went for the lift. He wanted to put a factory there to make Hellions, and immediately realizes he needs Marines very quickly. Yeah, that feels like an outright build order win. And the funny thing is that if Percival had made those barracks at the 12 o'clock base, I feel like ByuN scouts it and might even be able to pull off a defense, even though it would be very risky.
Yeah.
But the fact that Percival just kind of went the Jack Frost, like, road less traveled there and built in the top left instead, yeah, there was a longer travel time for the Marauders to get into that main base. But the element of surprise was just completely locked in. Percival, as it gets darker, his powers grow.
Yes.
The vampire of RSL.
It's almost like you just see a mask in the dark. Like,
he could
so
turn off the webcam, and we wouldn't know the difference at this point.
I feel like you can see Percival right there. How is it that dark? Oh, hold on. Oh, tabbed out.
He's like, wait, I gotta change my playlist, Tasteless.
Yeah. Okay, he's fading back into the darkness.
Oh, this is very cool. All right, guys. Game 3 is loading up. The map is going to be Persephone.
If ByuN wins, he's going to use that RSL prize pool to buy some posters for his wall.
Yeah, we'll find out pretty quickly. It's all on the line. One of these players, they are out of the RSL. The other one is going to advance to the next stage. Percival in the top left, the red Terran. ByuN in the bottom left, the blue Terran. And so far, Percival, even going up against some of the best TVT players in the game, in Kira and ByuN, has been the aggressor. Is he going to do the same thing here in map number 3 with everything on the line?
Let's find out, man. I'm very curious to see what can be done. You know, ByuN in a game like that, he loses and he goes, okay, I got to be really careful here. Percival knows that all he has to do is take one more game off him and he can move on. Now, I think overall we can agree Percival has looked worse today, but it doesn't really matter. We're early on enough in the tournament where it is best of 3s. You know, the deeper you get, the more rounds we tend to reward you with. You know, it's going to be a really good player. You give them the best of 7, it's hard for them to kind of be super cheesy and super sneaky and take a couple wins off of you. Normally, the more stable player wins. I'm very interested in seeing, excuse me, here, from Percival, what builds does he want to use?
Yeah, it's really a treat to watch him just try and take down these TVT Titans the way that he is, with aggression, with contains, with proxies. And it's brought him all the way here, one map win away from moving on into the next stage. So far, it's just a pretty standard opening here for our Red Terran player and for ByuN as well here in the bottom left. ByuN, it looks like he's going to be gunning to put down this command center here on the low ground. I feel like Percival's just a little bit late to get the CC block. So yeah, ByuN is able to plant that on site, and for Percival, going to be a 2-gas opening again. So a faster factory, faster tech up, more potential for aggression, but also a little bit more of a need to get damage done because his command center is going to be so late.
Yeah, CC coming along right now here for ByuN. Now, we're going to see just exactly what Percival can do and what he can try to get away with here. It always feels like, unless you're doing something really cheesy, there's like 2 types of builds in TVT. There's like the command center first ones, and then everything else goes in later, or the tech first ones, and then the CC kind of shows up when the minerals are there.
Nice pick off there by Percival, just getting 1 SCV for free here with that opening Reaper. And the command center is now coming down for the Red Terran. And we'll see what he's able to get done with this Hellion Reaper mixture. So far, ByuN has done a pretty good job of just preventing this from getting too much damage done throughout the day. You know, ByuN is one of these players who's just really good with these very small and very tricky to micro sets of units. But this command center is not finished just yet. Oh, the XCV, it darts! It darts to the bottom side, but still just not enough time. Percival able to kill it. That CC delayed again. And both Reapers also surviving.
That was insane.
Dude, that SCV looked like it was trying. It saw the Reapers coming and it just immediately sends itself to the other side. Oh, Hellion trying to fish for that counter, or not a counter attack, the splash damage right there. Not able to connect. Instead, it's actually ByuN pushing Percival back. But you know, for Percival, delaying the command center, getting 2 SCV kills, I feel like this has already been a pretty good start.
Yeah, I mean, not bad for sure from Percival. The question is, in a game that's going to be more technical, which is basically where we got, you know, all 3 of the tech options up here for Terran. How is he going to fare? But first, Percival's going to try to come in here and do a little bit more damage. It seems like the Marines actually moved all the way past the Reaper bomb. So neither bomb's really connecting. But, you know, remember, the Reaper can accumulate some energy. The Hellions are a little bit tankier.
Whoa.
Are we at the tipping point here? It feels like we are.
Percival with some really good micro. ByuN has no units. The Cyclone just finished up. It is going to lock on and be able to kill that Reaper, but man, what a trade there for Percival. These Hellions now, they don't want to try to escape the Cyclone, just going to see if they can get as much damage done as possible. That was some really flashy control, and that's what I'm talking about, man. I've seen this guy in a variety of RTS games now. A lot of people don't know who he is, but his control, he has some really flashy moments. To win a micro battle like that one against ByuN of all people.
Yeah, that was really impressive. ByuN losing a lot of the key stuff he was trying to get. I mean, especially that Marine count getting whittled down. I thought for a second it wasn't going to do as much damage as it was. By the way, when everything gets super low in unit count, the Cyclones become much stronger. Because they're just better at fighting and engaging. They can kind of both pursue as well as retreat. And so they just become a lot stronger when you don't have anything else to work with. It's Banshee tech for Percival, where it's Raven tech for ByuN. Now, ByuN's going to send the first Raven across the map, and I think he's just going to chuck an auto turret down, because why not? Do a little Timmy 2 screens here with the auto turret in the main and then Cyclones in the front.
Ooh, Cyclone's lock onto that siege tank with a scan. He might be able to confirm the kill, but ByuN actually doesn't even need it. Some nice micro now coming into the main base with this turret, able to get at least 1 SCV. Will he get the one mining the Vespene Geyser? No, that one will be saved here by Percival, but ByuN firing back a little bit here, picking off some key units. Siege tank and SCV already going down, while building a command center on site, by the way, at the 6 o'clock position. Percival, if I'm not mistaken, looking at the minimap, I don't even think we have a command center in production just yet.
I don't think so.
And so if he's going for a push, it's going to rely very heavily. Oh, he's going for, yeah, it's the 2 starport push again. So it's going to be relying very heavily on the siege tanks. The fact that ByuN was able to pick off even one of them this early is a real advantage here for ByuN on defense, because those Vikings and siege tanks, they're basically everything that Percival's got. Of course, there are Marines, but we're not going to have combat shields. We're not going to have stim. There won't be infantry upgrades coming in. This is going to be a push designed to try and kill ByuN. or at least shut down that third base and establish and contain with an expansion behind it.
Yeah, he's going to target down that Viking.
Dude.
That's a huge kill here for ByuN. Just whittling down all these units. You know, you're trying to get this perfect symbiosis of all the tech units in a TVT push because each thing has its own special role that allows you to engage. And so dropping even a Viking is massive.
Yeah, I mean, ByuN, he doesn't realize just yet, but I think seeing the Siege Tank and Marine trying to escape, oh, he's going to be able to confirm it there with a scan. A no interrupted vision, and Percival actually pulled everything back to deal with the Cyclones. I was thinking he might commit, but at this point, ByuN, that third base, it's already starting to pay off. He's going into the double engineering base. These Cyclones have bought him so much time in a way that kind of parallels a PvT where you use Blink Stalkers to buy time against the Siege Tank push.
Yeah.
ByuN with just 2 Cyclones has been able to kill 2 Siege Tanks? Maybe 3, plus a Viking, and by himself, I want to say a minute and a half or maybe even more. And now Percival is kind of limping cross-map with not the same set of units that he was hoping to have, while basically going back into plan B back at home. He's starting Stim, starting a third command center, adding an additional barracks. And ByuN, he's already been able to pay off this third base. He's already started double engineering bay upgrades. Yes, he is retreating into his natural expansion, but he might have enough just to break this down right now. Disable's coming in on all of the siege things there for Percival. They're so low in numbers, and this attack just got completely stopped.
I mean, it's kind of the same story as before. He just banks enough energy that he shuts everything down, whether that be the tank or another Viking, or even we've seen it used on medevacs before, but he just does. He just is able to basically turn his opponent's army off. And now comes the counterattack. And, you know, remember, all the tanks that were wiped in that attack, there's one retreating here, but the ones that were sieged up were denied. He's going to throw auto turrets down, so there's no easy route to escape with this tank. And with all the tanks that ByuN has, he can basically just run across the map and take a fight, possibly deny the third, or I mean the natural or where the third would be.
Yeah, and Stimpack now done here for ByuN. I mean, his army just packs such a punch, and it's not even at its peak strength here relative to Percival, because that third base, it's paying off. It is fully saturated. Percival's going to scan and confirm that. He doesn't even have the orbital morphed in at the third base because he was planning on getting way more done with his initial push. You could see the income advantage just swinging back in ByuN's favor in a pretty considerable way. And the fact that ByuN is in a minute going to have fully fleshed out Marine upgrades, given that Percival's siege tank count has thinned out as heavily as it has, I mean, if anyone can break this position, I feel like it's ByuN. 1-1 is done. He disables the tank there, guarding the third base, sims forward. The Marines, they are splitting. The siege tanks are entrenched, and ByuN is going to survive Group A and advance alongside Cure into the next stage of the RSL. Percival, I mean, he put up a great fight, but in the end, the top 2 Korean Terrans, they are going to prevail.
Yeah, it's the guys we expected to advance today did pull through. Both Cure and ByuN looking so good. Percival and Spirit, they had some great moments, but you can see, especially like in Game 1 and in Game 3 there from ByuN and Percival, like ByuN just has a better understanding of how to, in a healthy way, tech and develop. Clearly, Percival should not be pushing there.
Yeah, I mean, ByuN just did so much with the Cyclones to buy time while being greedy back at home, and buying time in a situation like that one. Time is basically everything. He was able to muster up exactly the army that he needed to stop Percival. You could see Percival sharking around in the center of the map in moments that he really didn't want to. But you know, at the end of the day, Percival, he still showed some really good games. I think a lot of people probably aren't familiar with him. I feel like he's one of those guys that, unless you're really into RTS, you probably have not seen before, because he's playing the new RTS games. He's a little bit under the radar in StarCraft II. But he showcased some really cool play here today in RSL. I think we're probably going to see him in RSL Season 2 and Season 3.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Guys, this was our first day RSL. Hell yeah, dude. We're going to be back tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and the day after that.
Yeah.
We're going to be on, I think the show starts at about 7 p.m. KST. We let the stream run for a little bit. So here are our results for Group A. Group B, we're going to have Hero, SOS, Zhao, and Clem. That's going to be an insane group. We got a Zerg-heavy group with Harstum in Group C. And Group D, I mean, how much better can it possibly get? Rainer, Scarlet, Showtime, and Classic.
Group D is actually so cool. Classic, who just won a GSL off the back of his killer PBZ. And Showtime, who, for me, for years now, has been one of my favorite Protoss players to look to model my PBZ play on. Oh, that's going to be so much fun going against two of my favorite Zergs. Group D, I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be a good way to end the week.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, we need your support. Go to patreon.com/revive SC2. We want to make this a seasonal tournament that can go on as long as the StarCraft scene can support it. We've got different tiers depending on what you're able to give. So consider checking it out. StarCraft II is in a very different space, but it's still a game. I mean, even today we had some insane, amazing games. My personal favorite, ByuN, Cure, final match in the best of 3. And so we want to sustain it in a way that, we can support it. So please do consider signing up there.
Yeah, and Archon Studio, of course, a big thanks to them. Speaking of support, the official broadcast partner here for Season 1 of the RSL, Archon Studio. They're making a really cool tabletop miniature game. I think you said it's releasing later on in this year.
Pre-orders open later this year, and you definitely want to check it out. They make a whole bunch of incredible-looking miniatures. You go to their website. They've got all sorts of games that I love that I had no idea you could get products like this for. So we're super proud and super excited that they're supporting this. Their tabletop miniature game looks incredible as well. So I would definitely pre-order that when the time is here.
Yeah, and it's been a pretty fun day. Tasteless here, day 1 of RSL. Pleasure to do this with you.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had a couple audio issues. Every time I've done an event, whether it's this one that we're starting here today or it's international big major tournaments, there's always a couple hiccups early on. So we're always going to be trying to, with every broadcast, make this improved, smoother, and more streamlined. So we appreciate you joining us here for day 1, which throughout this whole year, man, we're going to have 3 seasons. It's going to be incredible. That's it, guys. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.